Stephen took a deep breath, feeling relieved. I just want to clean your car, sir. I need to earn some money to eat, he said, hoping for kindness. John, impressed by the boy's determination, allowed him to clean the car. Go ahead, clean it, John said. As Stephen worked quickly and precisely, John watched him closely. The boy's dedication was impressive, especially for someone so young. You're very good at this, John said, trying to start a conversation. Stephen paused for a moment, looked at John, and smiled. Thank you, sir. I try to do my best in everything I do. These simple, sincere words touched John deeply. This boy deserves a chance, John thought, amazed by Stephen's maturity. When Stephen finished cleaning the car, John handed him a large amount of money. Here's for your hard work, John said. But Stephen hesitated when he saw the large sum. Thanks, sir, but I only want to earn enough to eat today. I don't want charity. Want to work for my food, he said honestly, leaving John shocked. I don't want charity, just an opportunity. John was momentarily speechless, touched by the boy's integrity. Then, to John's surprise, Stephen handed back most of the money, keeping only a small amount for the work he had done. He really doesn't just want money, wants a chance to work, John thought, feeling a growing connection with the boy. What's your name? John asked. Stephen seemed surprised by the question, as if people rarely asked him about himself. I'm Stephen, sir, he replied hesitantly. Seeing the boy's shyness, John knew he wanted to help. Stephen, you're hungry, right? Let's go to the diner down the street and get something to eat. Afterward, my car will probably need another cleaning, John said, using the car as an excuse to spend more time with Stephen and talk to him. Stephen, surprised and grateful, accepted the offer. Thank you, sir, John smiled, happy that he had found a way to help Stephen without hurting his pride. Let's go then, John said, opening the car door. As they walked, John used the opportunity to learn more about Stephen. Where are your parents, Stephen? He asked gently, trying to understand the boy's life. Stephen lowered his head and spoke softly. I lost my parents some time ago. Since then, I've been on my own. John felt a pain in his heart upon hearing this. This boy has been through so much, John thought, feeling even more determined to help. You're very brave, Stephen. It's not easy living like this, John said, trying to comfort him. When they arrived at a small, simple diner, John ordered a full meal for Stephen. As they ate, John watched the boy with growing admiration. Although hungry, Stephen ate slowly, savoring every bite. Thank you, sir. This means a lot to me, Stephen said, his eyes shining with gratitude. John smiled and replied, You deserve it, Stephen. Working hard and being honest is rare these days. John knew he wanted to do something more permanent to help Stephen. He felt the eyes of the other customers in the diner on him, surprised to see a well-dressed man with a street boy. After the meal, John looked directly at Stephen and made a decision. Stephen, I really want to help you. Would you like to come to my house? This way, you won't have to worry about where to sleep or eat tomorrow. I promise I won't hurt you. I just want to help. Stephen hesitated for a moment, unsure if he could trust John, but something in John's eyes made Stephen feel safe. With tears in his eyes, Stephen asked, Are you serious, sir? John nodded firmly. Yes, I am. Let's go to my house. You're hungry, and you deserve a chance for a better life. Stephen, emotional and overwhelmed, accepted the offer. Thank you, sir. I won't disappoint you. John smiled warmly. I know you won't. Stephen, let's go. We had a lot to do. As John drove home with Stephen, he felt a new sense of purpose. Maybe helping Stephen is the key to finding what's missing in my life. Doing good for those who need it, John thought, feeling hopeful. Meanwhile, Ashley Tess, John's mother, Saturday in her luxurious mansion, watching the perfectly manicured garden. She was a snobbish and prejudiced woman who cared only about social status and wealth. Her face often showed disapproval, especially regarding her son's choices. As she sipped her tea, she thought about the previous day. Yesterday, John was talking about our time in poverty before he changed our lives. My son should know that our family's image is everything. He shouldn't bring up such things in front of others. She reflected, remembering what John had said during dinner. Just then, John entered the house with Stephen by his side. The boy, still dirty and dressed in ragged clothes, had a glimmer of hope in his eyes. As soon as Ashley saw them, her face twisted in disgust. What is the meaning of this, John? She asked coldly. Staying calm, John replied, Mother, this is Stephen. He needs help, and I've decided to bring him here. Ashley looked the boy up and down, her disapproval obvious. This is unacceptable, she exclaimed. Walking closer to John, she continued, you can't just bring a street child into the house. Think about our reputation. John took a deep breath, knowing his mother would react this way. Mother, it's not about reputation. It's about doing what's right. Stephen needs us. Ashley scoffed, crossing her arms. And what will people say when they find out we are harboring a beggar? This isn't admissible, she argued. Stephen, feeling the tension and hostility, stepped back, but John placed a comforting hand on his shoulder. He's not a beggar, Mother. He's a boy who's had a tough life and deserves a chance. Ashley, still unconvinced, replied, John, you're being naive. These people just want to take advantage of us. He'll bring us problems. John stood firm. I believe in Stephen. He deserves a chance. Irritated, Ashley turned and walked toward the living room. You've always been stubborn, John, but this is too much. I won't allow him to stay here. John followed her, trying to stay calm. Mother, this is my house, and I've already made my decision. Stephen will stay. He needs a safe place, and I will provide that for him. Ashley stopped and faced him. If something goes wrong, it'll be your responsibility, she said, still irritated. John, feeling both frustrated and determined, responded, Okay, Mother, I accept that responsibility. Ashley, still skeptical, looked at Stephen with disdain. But don't think life will be easy here. I'll be watching you, she said harshly. A businessman was stopped at a traffic light when he noticed a boy begging nearby. As he rolled down the window of his limousine, he couldn't believe what the boy was capable of doing. Stephen, a 10-year-old boy, walked quickly through the streets of Miami. His thin body, dirty face, and worn-out clothes showed the tough life he lived on the streets. Barefoot and struggling daily, he survived by doing small jobs and begging at traffic lights. Despite his hardships, Stephen showed determination and dignity. I'll get enough for a piece of bread today, he thought as he walked toward a car waiting at a red light. He picked a simple car, hoping the driver would be generous. With an old rag, Stephen quickly and skillfully cleaned the windshield. The driver, a middle-aged man, rolled down the window and handed Stephen a few coins. Thank you, sir, Stephen said with a smile, hiding the hunger he felt. He knew they had to stay hopeful, even if he only got a little. As the afternoon wore on, the hot sun made Stephen feel tired, but he kept going. Just a few more cars, he whispered to himself, wiping sweat from his forehead. Then, he saw a luxury car coming in. With both hope and nervousness, decided to try his luck. The windows of the car were closed, but that didn't stop him. Come on, Stephen, you can do it, he thought as he moved toward the car. On his way, Stephen noticed another child, younger than him and looking even hungrier, sitting on the sidewalk. He stopped and, after counting his coins, decided the girl needed them more. She looked weaker and in greater need of help. Hey, are you hungry? Stephen asked her with a kind smile. The girl nodded, her big eyes filled with hope. Stephen handed her some coins and said, Take this, buy something to eat. I can't still earn more. The girl started crying, overwhelmed with gratitude. Thank you, I'm so hungry, she said, standing up with difficulty. Stephen helped her up and said, No need to thank me. I know how hard it is. Even though he was hungry himself, he ignored it to help her. Looking around, Stephen saw other boys struggling like him. This gave him strength to keep going, knowing he wasn't alone. I will make it, he thought, determined to continue. He walked to another traffic light, where a group of people was waiting to cross. With a brave smile, he approached a lady carrying heavy bags. Can I help you with your bags, ma'am? Stephen offered, hoping to earn a little money. The lady looked at him, surprised. You're so young to be working like this, she said with concern. Stephen smiled and replied, I have to work. Stephen always worked hard, carrying bags, cleaning cars, and helping with anything he could to earn some money for food. When the woman gave him a bag to carry and handed him a few coins as thanks, Stephen felt a bit of relief. Every little bit helps, he thought. At the end of that day, Stephen counted the coins he had earned, trying to see if it would be enough for a simple meal. Still a little short, he murmured, his stomach growling with hunger. Deciding to give it one last try, he headed to another traffic light, thinking, just need a few more coins. He approached another car with renewed courage and asked the driver if he could clean the windshield, hoping his effort would be rewarded. But the man angrily refused, shooing him away. Get out of here, "But you'll make my car dirty," the man shouted. Frightened, Stephen bowed his head, afraid the man might hurt him. As the day ended, Stephen found a quiet corner in the square to rest. He watched the city lights and the people hurrying by. Even though he was tired and hungry, he kept hoping that tomorrow would be better. Tomorrow is a new day. "Stephen, you will make it," he said to himself, staying optimistic despite the difficulties. He still believed in the kindness of people and the possibility of a better future. Meanwhile, John Bigas, a middle-aged man with a strong and confident appearance, walked through the busy streets of Miami, heading to an important meeting. Wearing an impeccable suit, John looked every bit the successful businessman. He had built his fortune through hard work and determination, starting from nothing and overcoming many challenges along the way. Today will be a decisive day, John thought, adjusting his tie before entering a grand office building. Inside the luxurious office, John was greeted with respect. His employees admired him, knowing how inspiring his journey had been. He sat at his desk, surrounded by contracts and important documents, feeling proud as he reflected on how well his company was doing. Yet, despite his success, John felt a sense of emptiness that even all his wealth couldn't fill. "Why do I still feel this void?" he wondered, looking at an old photo of his parents on his desk. John remembered his humble childhood, where every penny mattered, and hard work wasn't just an option, but a necessity. He was proud of what he had overcome, but thinking about his beginnings also made him feel uncomfortable. "What would my parents say if they saw me now?" he thought, flipping through the papers on his desk. Despite all he had achieved, John felt like something important was still missing in his life. "Maybe that's what I'm lacking, the calls. Something beyond what money can buy," he pondered, feeling a bit sad. As the day went on, John got busy with meetings and negotiations, always maintaining his confident and firm demeanor. He was not only successful, but also respected for his honesty and integrity. Even though John was successful and respected for his values, it didn't fill the emptiness he felt inside. Business is business, but what really matters at the end of the day, he wondered as he gazed out his office window during a coffee break. Watching the busy city below, John realized, "I need to find a purpose beyond just making money." Later, during a meeting, one of John's associates mentioned a charity event happening in the city. John, who usually focused only on business, found himself interested. "Maybe that's what I need, something more meaningful," he thought. "Helping others might help me find the missing piece," he reflected, remembering his difficult childhood when hope was all he had. As John drove through the streets of Miami, he noticed people sleeping on the streets, and his heart ached. "I was once in a tough situation too," he thought, recalling the hunger and struggles his family faced when his parents couldn't find work. Stopping at a traffic light, John looked out the window and saw a boy approaching with a dirty rag in his hand. The boy's eyes were filled with determination, but he hesitated as he got closer. "Please, sir, don't hurt me," Stephen said nervously. "Yesterday, a man was aggressive and threatened to hurt me if I came near his car." John, surprised by the boy's fear, rolled down the window and responded calmly, "Don't worry, I won't hurt you. What do you want?" "Bye."
The check sat on the mahogany table between us, its crisp edges mocking everything I thought I knew about love. $10,000. That's what they thought it would take to make me disappear. I'm Laura, and this was supposed to be my engagement celebration dinner. Instead, I was sitting across from my future mother-in-law, ex-future mother-in-law, as she explained in her perfectly measured voice why I wasn't suitable for her son. "It's nothing personal," Eliana said, sliding the check closer to me. "We simply believe Isaac needs someone more, aligned with our family's status. I'm sure you understand." I looked at Isaac, the man I'd loved for 2 years, the man who'd promised me forever. He wouldn't meet my eyes. His father, Reed, sat beside him, stone-faced and silent, like this was just another business transaction. "So," I said, my voice steadier than I felt, "you're buying me off?" "We're offering you an opportunity," Eliana corrected, her red lips curving into what might have been meant as a smile. "Along with this generous compensation, we have an NDA prepared. Sign both, and we can all move forward amicably." The restaurant's private dining room suddenly felt too small, too warm. A waiter approached with wine, but Eliana waved him away before he could reach our table. "Isaac," I whispered, "do you have anything to say?" He finally looked up, his face pale. Laura, my family... Your family what? I pressed, my hands clenching under the table. My family is right, he finished weakly. We're from different worlds. Different worlds. Right. Because I grew up in a 3-bedroom ranch house instead of a mansion, because my mother worked double shifts as a nurse while his mother organized charity galas. Eliana pulled out a thick envelope. The NDA is quite straightforward. You'll agree not to contact Isaac or any member of our family, not to discuss this arrangement, and to relocate to a different city within 3 months. My eyes burned, but I refused to cry. Not here. Not in front of them. And if I don't sign? Reed spoke for the first time, his voice cold. Then we'll ensure every tech company in the state knows not to hire you. Our reach is considerable. I thought about my mother, who'd worked herself to exhaustion to put me through college, who'd taught me that dignity wasn't about money, but about how you carried yourself when people tried to take it from you. Can I read the NDA? I asked. Eliana's smile widened as she passed me the envelope. I took out the document, scanning its pages carefully. My hands weren't shaking anymore. Something else was building inside me. Something hard and sharp and certain. I picked up the pen Eliana offered and signed my name. Then I reached for the check, folding it carefully before tucking it into my purse. A wise decision, Eliana said, gathering the NDA. I trust you'll honor our agreement. I stood up slowly, smoothing my dress, the one I'd bought specially for this dinner, back when I thought it was a celebration. Oh, I'll honor it, but let me tell you something, Eliana. I leaned forward, placing my palms flat on the table. You just made the worst investment of your life. Her perfectly plucked eyebrows rose slightly. Is that a threat? No, I smiled. It's a promise. I walked out of that restaurant with my head high, past the maitre d' who'd fawned over the whole family name, past the valet who'd sneered at my second-hand car. Once inside my Honda, I pulled out my phone and dialed. June? It's me? Remember that startup idea we talked about last month? We're doing it. Tonight. What? Laura, it's 9 p.m. What happened? I looked back at the restaurant where Isaac and his parents were probably already ordering their entrees, probably already forgetting about the girl they'd just paid to disappear. I'll tell you everything, but right now I need you to meet me at that 24-hour diner near your place. Bring your laptop. I started my car, the engine humming to life. We're going to build something that's going to make the halls wish they'd never heard my name. Laura, you're scaring me a little. Good, I said, pulling out onto the street, because by the time I'm done, they're going to be terrified. I ended the call and drove into the night, $10,000 of seed money in my purse and 3 years of tech experience in my head. They thought they were buying my silence. Instead, they'd just funded their own destruction. You were 12 when you built your first computer? June asked, her fingers pausing over her keyboard. We'd been at this diner for 3 hours, empty coffee cups littering our table. Built is generous. I salvaged parts from the recycling center where my mom's boyfriend worked. I smiled, remembering. Mom thought I was crazy, dragging home all those broken pieces. But when I got that thing running... And now you want to build something that'll make the halls regret ever meeting you? I pulled up the prototype designs on my laptop. Look at this. Every venture capital firm, including Hall Capital, uses outdated analytics systems. They're slow, clunky, and terrible at predicting market trends. June leaned forward, her eyes scanning the screen. And you think we can do better? I know we can. Remember that algorithm I developed for my senior project? The one that could predict startup success rates? The one that got you hired at TechFront straight out of college? I nodded, pulling up more files. I've been refining it for the past 2 years. It's not just about success rates anymore. It can track investor patterns, market fluctuations, even social media sentiment, everything a modern VC firm needs. My phone buzzed. Isaac's name flashed on the screen, the third time tonight. I declined the call. He's trying to reach you? June asked, probably feeling guilty. Too little, too late. I turned my phone face down. The NDA doesn't start until tomorrow, but I don't have anything to say to him. The waitress came by with fresh coffee. June waited until she left before speaking. Laura, I'm with you on this. But are you sure you want to build an entire company on revenge? I pulled out the check from my purse, smoothing its creased edges. See this? Eliana thought this would crush me, make me disappear. But you know what I see? What? Seed money. We can rent a small office space, buy the equipment we need, and still have enough left for 3 months of runway. By then, we'll have a working prototype. June's expression shifted from concern to excitement. You really think we can pull this off? Remember when we were kids? When my mom couldn't afford internet and I'd walk 2 miles to the library every day just to use their computers? June smiled. You taught yourself coding from YouTube videos. While the librarian kept trying to make me read Nancy Drew instead, I laughed, but it came out hollow. My whole life, people like the Halls have been telling me what I can't do, where I don't belong. Tonight, Eliana looked at me like I was dirt on her shoes. But you know what? What? She forgot to look at my brain. June's phone pinged. She glanced at it, then sat up straighter. Laura, you need to see this. She turned her phone around. It was an internal memo from Hall Capital, marked confidential. How did you get this? Remember Mark from college? He's a junior analyst there now. He says they're worried about new AI-backed platforms disrupting their business model. They're especially concerned about losing their smaller clients to more agile competitors. My heart raced. That's our way in. We target their smaller clients first, prove our system works better, and slowly eat away at their market share. June finished. But Laura, we'll need more than just good tech. We'll need connections, marketing, a solid business plan. I opened a new document and started typing. Then let's make one right now. For the next 2 hours, we mapped out everything. Development timeline, marketing strategy, potential clients. The sun was rising when we finally left the diner, our plans taking shape. In my car, I found 3 more missed calls from Isaac and a text. Please let me explain. What my parents did was wrong. I typed back a single message. You sat there and let them do it. That's all I need to know. Then I blocked his number. At home, I walked past the boxes of Isaac's things I'd planned to move into our new apartment, past the wedding magazines on my coffee table. I sat at my desk and opened my laptop. My phone rang again, unknown number this time. Probably Isaac using someone else's phone. I ignored it and started coding instead, letting the familiar rhythm of keystrokes wash away everything else. June was right. Building a company on revenge wasn't ideal. But sometimes the darkest motivations create the brightest innovations. The Halls thought they were paying me to disappear into obscurity. Instead, they were funding their own nightmare. My laptop pinged. An email from June. Found something interesting. Hall Capital's biggest client is getting nervous about their outdated systems. Meeting tomorrow? I smiled as I typed my response. Tomorrow. Let's make them sweat. The sun was fully up now, marking my first day as a startup founder. And somewhere across town, in their mansion on the hill, the Halls had no idea what was coming. Your platform detected a market shift 3 weeks before our current system? The CEO of StartRight Ventures leaned back in his chair, clearly impressed. And the accuracy rate is 92%, I finished, trying to keep my voice steady. This was our 4th demo in 2 weeks, but the first with a company this size. We can set up a trial period if you'd like to compare it directly with your current analytics provider. June pulled up another screen. As you can see, Cleargram also offers real-time social sentiment analysis, which your current provider, Hall Analytics, doesn't support yet. I watched the CEO's face carefully. He didn't know that 6 months ago, I was signing an NDA in a fancy restaurant. Didn't know that the sleek platform impressing him now was built in a tiny office with second-hand furniture and determination fueled by humiliation. "Impressive," he said finally. "But you're a new company, no track record. Why should we trust you over an established name like Hall?" Before I could answer, the door opened and a man in an expensive suit walked in. Ryder Mitchell, one of the most successful venture capitalists in the city. My heart stopped. "Because sometimes new blood is exactly what we need," Ryder said, sitting down without invitation. "I've been watching Cleargram's development. Their tech is solid." The CEO straightened. "You're interested in them, Ryder?" "Very. In fact, I'm considering a significant investment." Ryder turned to me. "Though I'd love to know more about the founder behind this innovation." I kept my face neutral. "The technology speaks for itself, Mr. Mitchell. Please call me Ryder." He smiled, but his eyes were calculating. "Interesting that you've managed to stay so anonymous in such a chatty industry." June jumped in smoothly. "We believe in letting our results do the talking. Speaking of which, should we show you the predictive modeling feature?" The demo continued, but I could feel Ryder watching me. He had connections to Hall Capital, if he figured out who I was. An hour later, StartRight's CEO was signing a contract, our biggest client yet. In the elevator afterward, June grabbed my arm. "Laura, we did it, but Ryder Mitchell, that was unexpected." "And dangerous," I muttered. "He's friends with Reed Hall. But if he's genuinely interested in investing, we need to be careful. One wrong move and..." My phone buzzed. Unknown number again. I'd been getting these calls regularly for months. June frowned. "Still Isaac?" "Probably. Let's focus on what matters. With StartRight signed, other firms will notice. We need to..." "Ms. Laura?" Ryder's voice cut through the lobby. He was walking toward us, that same calculating smile in place. "Do you have a moment?" June squeezed my arm and headed out, leaving me alone with him. "Remarkable technology you've developed," he said, "almost like you knew exactly what Hall Capital's weaknesses were." My pulse quickened. "Good market research." "Indeed." He pulled out his phone, showing me a news article from 6 months ago, a society page photo of Isaac and me at a charity gala. "Very good research." The floor seemed to tilt. "Mr. Mitchell, relax. I'm not here to expose you." He pocketed his phone. "I'm here because I recognize potential when I see it, and revenge, when properly channeled, can be an excellent motivator." "I don't know what you're talking about." "No?" He laughed softly. "Then let me be clear. I want to invest in Cleargram, significantly. And before you worry, I have no love for the Halls. Reed killed a deal I'd worked months on last year. Let's just say I understand the desire for strategic retaliation." I studied him carefully. "Why should I trust you?" "Because I can help you hurt them where it really counts, their client base." He handed me a card. "Think about it. Call me when you're ready to take this to the next level." He walked away, leaving me holding his card and feeling like I'd just met either a powerful ally or a dangerous enemy. My phone buzzed again. This time it was June. "Just saw the news. Hall Capital is trying to acquire Microtech, one of our target clients." I looked at Ryder's card, then at the message. If Hall Capital got Microtech, they'd block us out of a huge market segment. We needed to move faster. I dialed Ryder's number. He answered on the first ring. "That was quick," he said. "I'm not saying yes yet, but I'm willing to talk." "Perfect. Dinner tomorrow? I know a quiet place where we won't run into any mutual acquaintances." I agreed and hung up, watching the city lights flicker on outside. 6 months ago, I'd walked out of a restaurant with nothing but a check and a broken heart. Now I was walking into another restaurant with a growing company and a dangerous proposition. The difference? This time, I was the one making the rules. "Get down," June hissed, yanking me behind a potted plant in the hotel lobby. Through the leaves, I watched Eliana Hall glide past in her signature red-soled heels, heading toward the restaurant where I was supposed to be meeting a potential client. "How is she here?" I whispered. This meeting wasn't public knowledge. Someone must have tipped her off. June pulled out her phone. "I'll call Mr. Patterson. Tell him we need to reschedule." My hands were shaking. 6 months of carefully avoiding the holes, of building cleargram behind a shield of privacy, and now Eliana was feet away from discovering everything. "Ladies," Ryder's voice made us both jump. He stood behind us, looking amused. "While I appreciate a good game of hide and seek, perhaps we should move this somewhere else." He led us through a service corridor to the parking garage. Once inside his car, he turned to me. "Eliana's not here by accident. Hall Capital's board meeting is upstairs. But this does prove what I've been saying. You need better protection." "What kind of protection?" June asked. "The kind that comes with having a major VC firm behind you." Ryder handed me a folder. "My official investment offer, enough to triple your development speed and hire a proper legal team." I opened the folder, then nearly dropped it. "This is 20 million, he finished. "For 25% of Cleargram." June leaned over to look. "That's actually a fair valuation considering our growth rate." "But there's a catch," I said, meeting Ryder's eyes. "Isn't there?" He smiled. "Smart girl. Yes. I want to know everything. Who you really are, why the Halls paid you off, all of it. No more secrets." My phone buzzed. A text from Mr. Patterson. "Meeting cancelled. Hall Capital just offered us a better deal." "Damn it," I showed the message to June. "They're moving faster." "Not just there," June said, pulling up her laptop. "Look at this. A Hall subsidiary has been quietly buying up patents in our space. They're trying to box us in legally." Ryder leaned forward. "I can help with that. My firm has connections that could get us ahead of their patent grab. But I need to know what I'm really investing in, or rather, who." I stared at the folder in my hands. The numbers were life-changing, but telling Ryder everything meant trusting someone again, something I hadn't done since that night at the restaurant. "If I tell you," I said slowly, "it stays between us. June already knows, but no one else can." "Of course." I took a deep breath. 2 years ago, I met Isaac Hall at a tech conference. For the next hour, I told him everything. The whirlwind romance, the engagement, the humiliation, the check that started it all. Ryder listened without interrupting, his expression growing darker. "Those patents they're buying," he said when I finished. "I know which ones you need. Give me 2 days." "How?" "Let's just say Eliana isn't the only one with connections." He started the car. "But Laura, watch your back. If they're making moves this aggressive, they must suspect something." Back at our office, June was unusually quiet. "What is it?" I asked. She turned her monitor around. "Remember that analytics system Hall Capital launched last month? The one suspiciously similar to our early prototype?" "Yeah?" "I traced the development team. One of them used to work at TechFront when you were there." My stomach dropped. "They've been watching me this whole time." "Probably, but that's not all." She pulled up an email. "This came while we were out, from a journalist named Chelsea Newton. She says..." June paused. "She says she's your sister." "I don't have a sister." "Half-sister, according to her. And she knows about the Halls. Says she wants to tell your story." I collapsed into my chair. "A sister? And she knew about the Halls? It had to be a trap." My phone buzzed again. Another unknown number. But this time when I looked at the message, my blood froze. "Laura, this is Eliana. Impressive work with Cleargram. Perhaps we should discuss a potential collaboration for old time's sake." June read the message over my shoulder. "They know." "No," I said, standing up. "They suspect, but they don't have proof. Not yet." I picked up Ryder's folder. "Call him. Tell him we accept the investment, but I want those patents secured first." And the journalist? Your supposed sister? I stared at Chelsea's email, my finger hovering over the delete button, but something stopped me. Forward it to my personal email. I want to look into this more. June nodded, then suddenly grabbed my arm. Laura, look. On her screen was a breaking news alert. Hall Capital announces revolutionary AI platform launch next month. They weren't just trying to box us in. They were trying to beat us to market. The game was changing, and I needed to change with it. The woman sitting across from me at the coffee shop had our father's eyes. It was like looking at a piece of my own reflection, but twisted into someone else's face. So, Chelsea said, stirring her untouched latte, you really had no idea about me? Dad left when I was 3. Mom never talked about him. I studied her carefully. How did you find me? I'm a journalist. It's what I do. She pulled out a folder. But more importantly, I found these. Inside were photos of Eliana and Reed Hall at various social events over the years. In several, they were with my father, looking much older than I remembered him. He's been working with Hall Capital for 15 years, Chelsea explained. That's how I connected the dots when I heard about their newest rival, a mysterious startup founder they paid to disappear. My coffee turned bitter in my mouth. Does he know about what they did to me? No, but he might be useful. He handles their private investment portfolio. I don't want anything to do with him. Laura, Chelsea leaned forward, think about it. He has access to their entire investment strategy. If he knew what they did to his daughter. Which daughter? I cut in. The one he stayed with or the one he abandoned? Chelsea flinched. Fair point, but I'm not here just because of him. I want to tell your story. A self-made woman taking on one of the biggest investment firms in the country. It's compelling. It's also covered by an NDA. NDAs don't hold up when there's evidence of corporate sabotage. She pulled out more documents. Like Hall Capital stealing your early designs through a former co-worker, or them threatening potential clients to keep them from working with you. My phone buzzed. June's special ringtone. Excuse me, I said, stepping away from the table. Laura? June's voice was urgent. Hall Capital just announced their platform launch date. It's next week, not next month. What? That's impossible. Their development timeline? They must have fast-tracked it. They're going after our biggest clients first. I looked back at Chelsea, still sitting with her evidence spread out. I'll call you back. Returning to the table, I found Chelsea studying me. Bad news? Why should I trust you? I asked instead of answering. You show up out of nowhere, claiming to be family with all this convenient information. Because I hate them too. Her voice hardened. Dad might work for them, but they made sure the illegitimate daughter never got near their precious social circle. Sound familiar? My phone buzzed again. Ryder this time. I ignored it. If I let you tell my story, I said slowly, what's your angle? The truth. How the Halls use money and influence to crush anyone they see as beneath them. How you're building something that could change the whole industry, not because of connections or privilege, but because you're actually brilliant at what you do. Another buzz. A text from June. Ryder says it's urgent. Hall Capital is making moves. I need time to think, I told Chelsea. Time might be something you don't have. She gathered her documents. They're moving faster now, aren't they? Let me help. Before they bury you completely. As if on cue, my phone lit up with a news alert. Hall Capital announces revolutionary partnership with major tech firms. Fine, I said, but we do this my way. No mention of Dad, no family drama. Focus on the business angle. Deal. Chelsea stood up. One more thing. Watch out for Ryder Mitchell. His history with the Halls is complicated. I froze. What do you mean? Let's just say he's played both sides before. Be careful who you trust, sister. She left me with a business card and a head full of questions. Back at the office, June and Ryder were waiting. Where have you been? Ryder demanded. Hall Capital is making their move. They're launching next week, and they've already signed 3 major partnerships. I know. Do you? Because while you were off doing whatever, they've been positioning themselves to crush Cleargram before we can respond. Laura, June interrupted, there's something else. The patents Ryder secured for us, Hall Capital is challenging them. They're claiming prior art. I sank into my chair, Chelsea's warnings about Ryder echoing in my head. How did they know which patents to challenge? What are you implying? Ryder asked sharply. Nothing, yet. I pulled up our project timeline. June, push our launch date up. We're going live before they do. That's impossible, Ryder protested. The system isn't ready. It will be. I met his eyes. Unless you have a reason we shouldn't. The tension crackled between us until June cleared her throat. Laura? You should see this email. It was from Eliana, sent to all major tech newsletters. Hall Capital welcomes competition, questions origins of rival software. They weren't just trying to beat us to market, they were coming for my reputation. The war was starting, and I still didn't know who my real allies were. You can't seriously trust him, June whispered, glancing at Ryder across our war room. 3 days had passed since Hall Capital's announcement, and we'd barely left the office. I don't, I murmured back. But right now, we need him. Ryder was on the phone, working his network. Whatever Chelsea's warnings meant, he'd spent the last 72 hours proving his value. Already, he'd secured meetings with 5 major clients who were having doubts about Hall Capital's rushed launch. Got it, Ryder said, ending his call. Microtech is willing to meet. They're nervous about Hall's new platform. Apparently, the beta testing isn't going well. I pulled up our launch timeline. When? Tomorrow morning. Their CEO specifically asked for you to be there. June shot me a warning look. That's cutting it close to our launch. It's worth the risk, I said. Microtech is exactly the kind of client Hall Capital can't afford to lose. My phone lit up with a text from Chelsea. Stories ready. Publishing tomorrow morning before markets open. Last chance to back out. I showed it to June, who frowned. The timing is perfect, Ryder cut in, reading over my shoulder. Microtech's CEO will have seen the article before our meeting. It adds pressure. Or it spooks them completely, June argued. No, I said, making my decision. We move forward. Text Chelsea back. Do it. The next hours were a blur of preparation. Our team worked through the night, fine-tuning our platform for launch, while I rehearsed my presentation for Microtech. At 6 a.m., Chelsea's article dropped. The woman they tried to pay off, how tech's biggest dynasty created their own worst enemy. By 7 a.m., my phone was exploding with notifications. The story was spreading like wildfire through tech circles. Laura, June called from her desk. Hall Capital stock just dropped 3 points in pre-market trading. Ryder walked in, looking pleased. Microtech's CEO just confirmed he's bringing their whole board to the meeting. They're spooked by the article. Good, I said, but my hands were shaking as I gathered my presentation materials. The elevator ride to Microtech's offices felt endless. June squeezed my arm. You've got this. The boardroom was packed when we entered. Microtech's CEO, David, stood to greet us. Quite a morning, he said, gesturing to a tablet showing Chelsea's article. We had no idea about your history with Hall Capital. I prefer to let our technology speak for itself, I replied smoothly. Shall we begin? Halfway through my presentation, the door burst open. Isaac walked in. My heart stopped. He looked older, tired, wearing the same kind of expensive suit his father favored. I apologize for interrupting, he said to the room, but his eyes were on me. But as Hall Capital's new head of client relations, I felt I should be here. June started to protest, but I held up my hand. No problem at all. In fact, your timing is perfect. I clicked to the next slide. I was just about to demonstrate how our system outperforms Hall Capital's current analytics by 43%. Isaac's face tightened. Our new platform is 3 months behind schedule based on our analysis, I cut in. And from what I hear, the beta testing isn't going well. Would you like to comment on that? The board members shifted uncomfortably. Isaac loosened his tie. Laura, he said softly, can we talk privately? Everything I have to say can be said right here. I turned back to the board. Your company has a choice to make. Stay with an outdated system backed by a legacy name or partner with the future. David leaned forward. Show us the comparison data again. For the next hour, I methodically took apart every advantage Whole Capital claimed to have. Isaac sat silently, watching me destroy his family's reputation with cold, hard facts. When we finished, David stood up. We'll need to discuss internally, but... He glanced at Isaac apologetically. I think we're ready for a change. Outside the boardroom, Isaac tried to catch my arm. Laura, please. Don't, I said, my voice ice. You had your chance to speak up. You chose silence. My family is about to learn what it feels like to lose something they value. I smiled, the same smile his mother had given me that night. How's Eliana handling the stock drop? He flinched. This isn't you. The Laura I knew died the night your mother wrote that check. I walked away, June and Ryder flanking me. In the elevator, Ryder checked his phone. 3 more clients want meetings. The article is doing exactly what we hoped. Laura, June said quietly. Whole Capital's stock is down 12% now. I thought of Isaac's face, of Eliana's smug smile the night she tried to buy my disappearance. Good, let it burn. The elevator doors opened to a lobby full of reporters. The war had gone public, and I was finally ready to step into the spotlight. The private dining room at LeBlanc felt hauntingly familiar. Different restaurant, same scene, except this time Eliana was the one trying to salvage a situation spinning out of control. Laura, she said, her smile as artificial as ever. You've certainly made quite a name for yourself. That's funny, I replied, considering you paid me to disappear. She flinched slightly but recovered quickly. Ancient history. We clearly underestimated your potential. Perhaps we can discuss a more mutually beneficial arrangement? Like what? A merger. Whole Capital could acquire Cleargram for a very generous sum. You'd have a seat on our board, of course. I took a sip of water, letting her squirm. 2 weeks had passed since Chelsea's article. Whole Capital's stock had dropped 20%, and they'd lost 6 major clients to us. That's an interesting offer, I said finally, especially considering your legal team is still trying to challenge our patents. A misunderstanding, easily resolved. Like how you misunderstood my worth when you handed me that check. The door opened and Reed walked in, followed by Isaac. My heart jumped, but I kept my face neutral. Laura. Reed nodded, sitting beside his wife. You've built something impressive. Dad, Isaac started, but Reed silenced him with a look. We're prepared to offer $50 million, Reed continued, plus a guaranteed executive position. I pulled out my phone, opened my banking app, and slid it across the table. See that number? That's what Cleargram is worth now, and that's just the beginning. Eliana's eyes widened at the figure. Surely we can negotiate. No, I cut her off. We can't, because in exactly 1 hour, I'm giving a keynote speech at the Tech Innovation Summit. Would you like to know what I'm announcing? The color drained from Reed's face. The Morrison contract. Among other things. I stood up. You should watch the live stream. It'll be quite educational. Laura, wait, Isaac called as I reached the door. Please don't do this. I turned back. You know what's funny? That check your mother gave me? I invested every penny of it in starting Cleargram. So in a way, you funded your own destruction. The tech summit was packed. June stood backstage with me, reviewing last-minute details. Riders in position? I asked. Front row. The press is primed, investors are salivating, and she checked her phone. Whole Capital stock is already dipping on rumors about the Morrison announcement. I adjusted my microphone. Any sign of the Halls? Reed and Eliana just arrived, Isaac too. Perfect. The lights dimmed, and I walked onto the stage to thunderous applause. Spotlights found me as I reached the podium. 3 years ago, I began, I learned a painful lesson about power, about how old money and established names can make you feel worthless. I found Eliana's face in the crowd, but they forgot something important. True power isn't inherited, it's built. The screens behind me lit up with Cleargram's latest analytics dashboard. Today, I'm announcing 3 things. First, our partnership with Morrison Global, making Cleargram the exclusive analytics provider for their $2 trillion in managed assets. Gasps rippled through the audience. Morrison had been Whole Capital's biggest client for 20 years. Second, our new AI-driven investment platform, which has tested 200% more accurate than any competitor's system. I clicked to the next slide, showing comparison data. In the front row, Ryder was smiling like a shark. And finally, I paused, finding Isaac's eyes in the crowd. I'm announcing that Cleargram will be offering free analytics services to any startup founded by individuals from disadvantaged backgrounds, because talent doesn't belong to any one class or family name. The applause was deafening. In the back, I saw Reed and Eliana leaving hurriedly, their faces ashen. One last thing, I added. Success is the best revenge, but karma. I smiled directly at Isaac. Karma is watching your mother's $10,000 investment turn into your family's biggest nightmare. The crowd erupted. Phones flashed. Tomorrow's headlines were writing themselves. Backstage, June hugged me tight. That was brilliant, but brutal. They earned it. I checked my phone. Whole Capital's stock had dropped another 15% during my speech. Ryder appeared, grinning. Reed just resigned as CEO. Board forced him out. Eliana's charity board is next. Laura, June said softly. Isaac's outside. He wants to talk. I thought about the girl I'd been, so in love, so naive. Tell him he had his chance to talk, 3 years ago, in a different restaurant. My phone buzzed. Chelsea. Story's already viral. Want to do a follow-up interview? I typed back, not yet. Let them burn for a while. The revenge I'd dreamed of was complete, so why didn't I feel as satisfied as I'd imagined? The email from Isaac sat unopened in my inbox as I watched the sunset from my office. The city lights were coming alive, each one representing a story, a struggle, a triumph. Mine was just one of them. Still here? June walked in, carrying 2 cups of coffee. The celebration party started an hour ago. Just thinking, I gestured to my screen. Isaac sent an email. And? Haven't opened it yet. I took the coffee. Did you see the latest numbers? Hard to miss. Whole Capital's board is restructuring the entire company. Reed's resignation sparked a mass exodus. June sat down. We won, Laura, completely. Then why doesn't it feel like winning? My phone buzzed, Ryder calling. I let it go to voicemail. Because revenge is empty, a voice said from the doorway. Chelsea stood there, notepad in hand. Trust me, I know. How did you get up here? Your security knows me, she walked in, sitting across from me. I came to show you something. She pulled out an old photograph. A man holding 2 babies, one in each arm. Dad took this the day I was born, Chelsea said. You were 3. It's the only picture I have of us together. I stared at the photo, at the father I barely remembered holding the sister I never knew I had. He was a coward, Chelsea continued, running between 2 families, then choosing the one that offered better connections. But his weakness doesn't define us. June touched my arm. Open the email, Laura. With trembling fingers, I clicked. Laura, I've spent 3 years being a coward, just like my father. The night my mother tried to buy you off, I sat silent, watching her destroy something beautiful because of her own prejudices. I lost the best person I've ever known because I was too weak to stand up to my family. You've proven them all wrong. Not just about your abilities, but about everything they believed about class and worth. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm writing to say you were right about all of it. I've resigned from Hall Capital, not because I had to, but because I finally found the courage to choose what's right over what's expected. Isaac. Wow, June whispered. My phone buzzed again. Ryder. This time I answered. Laura, I need to tell you something. His voice was urgent. I'm buying controlling shares in Hall Capital. What? The stock price crash made them vulnerable. With Reed gone, I can take over. But I want to do something different. Partner with Cleargram, create a fund specifically for underprivileged entrepreneurs. I thought about Eliana's face when she'd offered me that check, about how power works. No, I said. No. I don't want to take over Hall Capital. I want to build something new, something that was never tainted by their legacy. Chelsea was scribbling in her notepad. Now that's a headline. What are you writing? I asked. The real story, not about revenge, but about redemption, about two sisters who found each other because of shared pain, but built something stronger than bitterness. June was grinning. She's right. This isn't about destroying the Halls anymore. It's about building something they could never imagine. I looked at the photo again, two babies who never got the chance to be sisters. Then at June, who'd believed in me when I had nothing but rage and a check. At Chelsea, who turned her pain into purpose. Okay, I said, let's write a new story. I opened a reply to Isaac. You're right. You don't deserve forgiveness yet. But courage, even late, counts for something. If you're serious about changing things, there's a position open at our new entrepreneurship foundation. No family connections, no privileges, just hard work and merit. Your choice. Laura. The party's still going, June reminded me. Your entire team is waiting to celebrate with their founder. Our team, I corrected her. Chelsea, want to join? You can interview everyone for your story. The story of how two abandoned daughters built an empire. She smiled. I wouldn't miss it. Walking out, I took one last look at my office. The view wasn't just city lights anymore. It was possibility. Somewhere out there was another girl with dreams bigger than her circumstances, waiting for a chance. Thanks to Eliana's check and her own arrogance, I could now give her that chance. Coming? June called. Yeah, I said, turning off my computer. Let's go build something beautiful. The elevator doors closed on the empire I'd built from pain, but they opened to something better, a future built on hope. Sometimes the best revenge isn't destruction, it's creation. And I was just getting started.
The crystal wine glasses clinked as my family toasted to Nancy's engagement for what felt like the 100th time that evening. I forced a smile, gripping my own glass so tightly I worried it might shatter. That's the thing about family dinners. They're supposed to bring people together, but sometimes they just highlight the cracks that were always there. I'm Sophia, and I've spent 28 years being the family's afterthought. Tonight was no different, except maybe it hurt a little more than usual. To Nancy and Ralph, my Aunt Caroline squealed, her diamond bracelet catching the light as she raised her glass. We're so excited to start planning the engagement party. My mother Raylin nodded enthusiastically. We've already booked the Grand Plaza Hotel ballroom. It's going to be spectacular. I nearly choked on my wine. Just last week, when I'd mentioned my own upcoming wedding to Santiago, my parents had given me their rehearsed speech about tight budgets and difficult times. Speaking of weddings, I ventured, setting down my glass. Santiago and I were thinking of having ours at the local community centre, since everyone's been talking about budget concerns. The table fell silent. My father Jeremy cleared his throat. Honey, we've discussed this. Times are tough right now. Nancy reached across the table and patted my hand with fake sympathy. Don't worry, Sophia. Sometimes simple weddings are the most meaningful. Right, I replied, withdrawing my hand. Simple and meaningful, like your engagement party at the Grand Plaza. That's different, my Aunt Caroline interjected. Nancy's engagement is a once-in-a-lifetime celebration. And my wedding isn't. The words slipped out before I could stop them. Sophia, my mother warned, her voice carrying that familiar edge of disappointment. Ralph, Nancy's fiancé, cleared his throat. Hey, who wants to see the venue photos? They just sent them over today. I watched in silence as everyone huddled around Ralph's phone, oohing and eyeing over the crystal chandeliers and marble floors. My phone buzzed in my pocket, probably Ruby checking in. She knew how these family dinners usually went. We're thinking of having ice sculptures, Nancy announced. Mum says the budget can stretch a little for something special. I excused myself to the bathroom, hands shaking as I pulled out my phone. There it was. Nancy's mother's Instagram post from this morning. Meeting with the event planner. Can't wait to give my baby girl the engagement party she deserves. No expense spared. Yas Grand Plaza, your luxury venue. The timestamp showed she'd posted it right after telling me they couldn't contribute to my wedding because everyone's struggling financially right now. I scrolled through more posts, catering deposits, flower arrangements, designer dress shopping. Each one felt like a slap in the face. When I returned to the table, dessert was being served. Nancy was describing her vision for the ice sculpture. 2 swans with their necks forming a heart. That sounds lovely, I said, my voice steady despite the storm brewing inside. How much does something like that cost? The table went quiet again. My father shot me a warning look. Sophia, my mother hissed. That's not appropriate dinner conversation. Just curious, I shrugged, taking a bite of tiramisu. Since we're all so budget conscious these days. Nancy's face flushed. Well, Mum and Dad want my day to be special. Of course they do, I replied, standing up. And it will be. Santiago's waiting for me at home, so I should get going. But you haven't finished your dessert, my mother protested. Lost my appetite, I said, grabbing my purse. Congratulations again, Nancy. Ralph, I'm sure the engagement party will be everything you've dreamed of. As I walked to my car, my phone buzzed again. Ruby's message read, How bad was it? I typed back, Remember when you said I should stop letting them walk all over me? Well, I think it's finally time. Starting my car, I caught a glimpse of my family through the dining room window. They were already back to celebrating, probably relieved I'd left. They had no idea what they'd just set in motion. I pulled out of the driveway, my mind already racing with possibilities. They thought they could dismiss my wedding while throwing money at Nancy's engagement party. Fine, let them think that. But I was done being the family afterthought. It was time to show them exactly what I could do on my own. You want to do what? Ruby nearly spat out her coffee across the cafe table. I want to plan the most incredible wedding this family has ever seen, I said, pulling up Nancy's mother's Instagram posts on my phone. Without their help, without their money, and without them knowing until it's too late. Holly, my wedding planner friend, leaned forward, her eyes sparkling with interest. I'm listening, and I might have some ideas that could help. I've been saving for years, I explained, sliding my phone across the table to show them the Grand Plaza posts. They think I can't afford anything better than the community centre, but they have no idea what Santiago and I have put aside. Ruby scrolled through the posts, her expression darkening. These people are unbelievable. Ice sculptures for an engagement party while telling you they can't help with your actual wedding? That's not even the worst part, I said. Look at the date of the party. Holly leaned in to look. 2 weeks before your wedding date? That's just cruel. Exactly. They're trying to overshadow my wedding with Nancy's engagement party. I took a sip of my latte. So let's give them something they can't overshadow. I might have exactly what you need, Holly said, pulling out her tablet. Remember that new venue that just opened? The Glass Gardens? I have connections there through my previous events. Ruby's eyes widened. The place with the retractable glass ceiling and the hanging gardens, that's like impossible to book. Not if you know the right people, Holly winked, and guess what? They had a cancellation for your date. My heart started racing. How much? Holly named a figure that made Ruby gasp, but I just smiled. Perfect. Santiago and I can handle that. What else do you have up your sleeve? For the next hour, Holly laid out possibilities that made Nancy's ice sculptures look like child's play. Living walls of flowers, string quartets, gourmet food stations, and a dress designer who owed her a favour. But here's the real coup, Holly said, lowering her voice. Remember that celebrity chef who did that charity event I planned last month? He's looking to break into the wedding scene. If we book him, the local media will definitely be interested. Media coverage, Ruby squealed. Your family would lose their minds. That's the point, I said, feeling a surge of excitement. They think they can dismiss my wedding. Let's make it something they can't ignore. Sophia! Santiago's voice came from behind me. He'd arrived for the meeting right on time, as usual. Are you sure about this? I turned to face my fiancé, expecting disapproval, but found only concern in his eyes. This isn't just about revenge, I said softly. It's about finally standing up for ourselves. He sat down beside me, taking my hand. Then I'm in, all the way. Perfect, Holly clapped her hands. Now, about the guest list, I have some contacts from my event planning work. Influential people who'd love to attend a wedding at the Glass Gardens. Won't your family be suspicious if you suddenly have this amazing wedding planned? Ruby asked. That's why we're keeping everything under wraps, I explained. As far as they know, we're still having a simple ceremony at the community centre. Holly will help us manage 2 sets of invitations, the decoy ones for family and the real ones for everyone else. Speaking of family, Santiago said, what about mine? We'll tell your parents the truth, I assured him. They've always supported us. They can help keep the secret. Holly started typing rapidly on her tablet. Okay, let's lock in the venue today. I'll call my contact right now. As Holly stepped away to make the call, Ruby squeezed my hand. You know this is going to cause drama, right? They created the drama when they decided Nancy's engagement party was more important than my wedding, I replied. I'm just making sure the finale lives up to the show. Santiago kissed my temple. Whatever happens, we're in this together. Holly returned, beaming. The Glass Gardens is ours. They're even throwing in the premium lighting package because they want to get established in the wedding market. Looking around at my little team, my supportive fiancé, my excited best friend and my skilled wedding planner, I felt more confident than ever. My family thought they could push me into the background, make my wedding an afterthought to Nancy's engagement party. They had no idea what was coming. Let's do this, I said, raising my coffee cup. To the wedding they'll never forget. As we clinked our cups together, I couldn't help but smile. The pieces were falling into place, and for once I was the one calling the shots. Let them have their ice sculptures. I was about to show them what a real celebration looked like. So, honey, have you and Santiago figured out the menu for the community centre? My mother's voice crackled through the phone as I stood in my kitchen, chopping vegetables for dinner. You know they have strict rules about outside catering. Actually, Mum, we're thinking of changing some plans, I said carefully, testing the waters. We might have found another option. Sophia, she sighed, that familiar note of disappointment creeping in. We've been through this. You need to be realistic about your budget. I set down my knife. What if I told you Santiago and I have been saving, that we might be able to afford something nicer? Don't be silly. Nice venues are booked years in advance. Besides, you don't want to start your marriage in debt. She paused. Oh, did I tell you about Nancy's ice sculpture tasting? They're letting her sample 3 different designs. My phone buzzed with a text. Holly had sent a photo of the Glass Gardens contract, ready for signing. I smiled. That's great, Mum. Hey, I wanted to check something about the wedding date. About that, she interrupted. Your father and I meant to talk to you. We might need to leave the reception a bit early. We found these amazing cruise tickets for a great price, and the ship leaves that evening. The knife clattered against the cutting board. You're leaving my wedding early for a cruise? Don't be dramatic, sweetie. We'll be there for the important parts. It's just that these tickets were such a good deal, and we already promised your Aunt Caroline we'd go with them. Let me guess, Nancy and Ralph are going too? Well, yes, it's sort of an engagement celebration cruise. The doorbell rang, saving me from saying something I'd regret. Someone's at the door, Mum. I have to go. Don't forget to check the community centre's catering rules, she called out before I hung up. I opened the door to find Santiago, his arms full of takeout bags. One look at my face and he set everything down. What happened? They're skipping part of our wedding for a cruise, I said, my voice shaking. A cruise to celebrate Nancy's engagement? Santiago pulled me into a hug. Maybe we should tell them about our real plans, show them what they'll be missing. No, I pulled back, wiping my eyes. Let them go on their cruise. They can see the photos afterward like everyone else on social media. My phone buzzed again. This time it was Ruby. Turn on Channel 5 now. We rushed to the TV just in time to see a segment about the glass gardens. The reporter stood in front of the magnificent building, talking about upcoming events. This exclusive new venue is quickly becoming the most sought-after location for high-profile celebrations. That's going to be our wedding, Santiago whispered, squeezing my hand. My phone rang, my father this time. I answered on speaker. Sophia, your mother tells me you're talking about changing wedding venues, he said. I hope you're not getting carried away with ideas above your means. Dad, Santiago and I can handle our own finances. I know you think that, sweetheart, but weddings are expensive. The community centre is perfectly fine. You don't want to start your marriage with unnecessary stress. Like the stress of your parents leaving early for a cruise. He sighed. Your mother told you about that. Look, we got a great deal on the tickets. Right, because Nancy's engagement cruise is more important than your daughter's wedding reception. That's not fair, Sophia. We'll be there for the ceremony and most of the reception. And it's not just about Nancy. Your Aunt Caroline organised this whole thing. Of course she did, I muttered. Well, don't worry, Dad. You won't have to feel guilty about leaving early. Go enjoy your cruise. After hanging up, I turned to Santiago. Holly sent the venue contract. Should we sign it now? He grinned. Let's do it. We spent the next hour signing documents and sending them back to Holly. While we ate our now cold takeout, my phone kept buzzing with messages from my mother, each one more concerned than the last. Are you really going to change venues this late? The community centre is perfectly nice. Think about the cost. Don't do anything rash. I ignored them all, instead texting Holly, contract signed, let's make this spectacular. Her response came immediately. Already on it. Wait until you see what I've lined up for the menu tasting next week. No ice sculptures, but trust me, it's going to be unforgettable. Santiago watched me texting with a worried smile. You okay? I looked up at him, feeling more certain than ever. You know what? I really am. Let them go on their cruise. Let them think we're having some sad little reception they can skip out on. In 2 months, they're going to realise exactly what they missed. And what's that? The wedding of the year, I said, sending Holly one final message. Go big, no holding back. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our special guest, Chef Marcus. Holly's voice rang with excitement as the renowned chef entered the private tasting room at the Glass Gardens. Ruby grabbed my arm and whispered, I can't believe we're actually doing this. The chef, known for his appearances on multiple cooking shows, smiled warmly. I understand we're planning something extraordinary here. Shall we begin? For the next 2 hours, we sampled dishes that made my previous wedding menu ideas seem like cafeteria food. Each plate was a work of art, from the truffle-infused appetizers to the gold-dusted desserts. The presentation is essential, Chef Marcus explained, arranging edible flowers on a perfectly seared scallop. When your guests share these photos on social media, they'll be impossible to ignore. Santiago's eyes widened at the mention of social media. Speaking of impossible to ignore, how are we handling the press coverage, Holly? Holly pulled out her tablet. 3 local magazines have already confirmed they want to feature the wedding. The Glass Gardens PR team is thrilled. They're calling it their flagship event of the season. My mother still thinks we're having grocery store sheet cake at the community centre, I laughed, but there was a slight tremor in my voice. Ruby squeezed my hand. Have you seen Nancy's engagement party updates? No, I muted all their social media. I can't deal with more ice sculpture debates. Smart move, Holly interjected, because wait until you see what we've arranged instead of ice sculptures. She pulled up a rendering on her tablet. Living art installations, fresh flowers arranged into sculptures that change colour throughout the night thanks to specialised lighting. Santiago whistled. That's going to make their swans look like plastic lawn ornaments. The guest list is coming together too, Holly continued. Remember that reality TV star I worked with last year? She's coming, and that local news anchor, plus several social media influencers who've been dying to post about the glass gardens. What about the decoy invitations? I asked. Ruby pulled out 2 envelopes. Done. The fake ones for your family look appropriately budget-conscious. Basic cardstock, simple design, community centre address, the real ones. She opened the second envelope, revealing an elegant, handcrafted invitation with real pressed flowers and gold foil details. These are going to make people's jaws drop. Perfect, I said, just as my phone buzzed. It was my mother. Sophia, Nancy just told me you haven't RSVP'd to her engagement party yet. It's only polite to respond. I put the phone on speaker. Actually, Mum, I don't think we can make it. We'll be too busy with last-minute wedding preparations. But it's 2 weeks before your wedding. Surely you can spare one evening for your cousin's special day. The ice sculptures. Will be lovely, I'm sure, I cut her off. But we have our own plans that night. What plans? The community centre handles all the setup. Holly and Ruby had to stifle their laughter as I replied, We're just being thorough, Mom. Wouldn't want anything to go wrong with our simple little wedding. After hanging up, Chef Marcus cleared his throat. I have one more surprise, instead of a traditional wedding cake. He unveiled a sketch of an architectural masterpiece, tiers of desserts connected by flowing chocolate waterfalls and suspended sugar sculptures. It's perfect, I breathed, and totally Instagram-worthy, Holly added with a wink. Now, about the entertainment. We spent another hour finalising details, the string quartet for the ceremony, the jazz band for cocktail hour, and the surprise headline performer Holly had somehow managed to book for the reception. Everything's falling into place, Santiago said as we left the tasting. But are you sure you don't want to give your parents a heads up? They might feel like I felt when they decided to skip half my wedding for a cruise, I finished. No, let them think what they want. They made their choice. Ruby checked her phone. Nancy just posted more engagement party photos. They're doing a tasting too. Looks like chicken or fish options from the hotel's standard menu. Let them have their hotel banquet, Holly said. They have no idea what's coming. As we walked through the glass garden's magnificent atrium, I caught sight of my reflection in the soaring windows. I barely recognised myself. This wasn't the family afterthought anymore. This was someone who was about to pull off the event of the season. 2 more weeks until Nancy's engagement party, Ruby mused, and then 2 weeks after that. Then we show them what a real celebration looks like, I finished, watching the sunset paint the glass ceiling in shades of gold and rose. Let them enjoy their ice sculptures while they can. Holly's tablet pinged with another confirmation. The media team wants to do a pre-wedding feature. Should I tell them yes? I thought about my family, probably gathering right now to plan more engagement party details. Absolutely, it's time to start dropping some hints about what they're going to miss. Someone talked. Holly burst into my apartment, her face flushed. The Glass Gardens just got a call from your Aunt Caroline asking about available dates. My stomach dropped. How did she find out? I think it was Marcus, the chef. He was doing a morning show interview and mentioned preparing for the wedding of the season at the gardens. He didn't name names, but my aunt is nothing if not thorough when it comes to investigating venues, I finished, sinking onto my couch. My phone buzzed, a text from Nancy. Just heard the most interesting rumour about your wedding plans. Ignore it, Ruby advised, pacing the room. We need to contain this. Holly's phone rang. She glanced at the screen and grimaced. It's the venue manager. They're getting flooded with calls from your family. While Holly stepped away to take the call, Santiago arrived, looking worried. Your mother just called me. She's crying, saying we're trying to compete with Nancy's engagement party. Compete? I laughed bitterly. They're the ones who scheduled their party 2 weeks before our wedding. My phone started ringing. My father this time. Against my better judgment, I answered. Sophia, what's this I hear about the glass gardens? His voice was stern. Are you trying to embarrass the family? Embarrass the family, I shot back. Like you're embarrassing me by leaving my wedding early for a cruise. That's different. We made those plans months ago. And I made these plans weeks ago. The difference is I didn't feel the need to announce them to everyone. Your mother is very upset. She thinks you're doing this to spite Nancy. No, Dad, I'm doing this for me and Santiago. The fact that it might overshadow Nancy's engagement party is just, what did you call it? Different. Holly returned, giving me a thumbs up. The venue manager's handling it. They're not confirming any details to anyone not on our approved list. My phone buzzed again. Another text from Nancy. Just tried to book the glass gardens for my engagement party. They said they're booked for a major event. Funny coincidence. Ruby grabbed my phone. Let me handle Nancy. You deal with damage control. Santiago sat beside me, taking my hand. Maybe this is good. Now they know what they're missing. Sophia, Holly interrupted, her eyes sparkling. What if we use this to our advantage? I just got a call from that society columnist I know. She wants to do a feature on the mysterious high-profile wedding at the Glass Gardens. I sat up straighter. You think we should confirm the rumours? Not confirm, tease, let the speculation build. Trust me, it'll drive them crazy. My phone kept buzzing with messages from family members. How could you do this to Nancy? Aunt Caroline. We thought you understood our budget concerns. Mom, this is so tacky and competitive. Another cousin Ruby looked up from her phone with a wicked grin. Want to know what I just replied to Nancy? Do I? I just said, guess you'll have to wait and see, using her own passive-aggressive emoji against her. Holly's tablet pinged. The columnist wants a quote about the wedding, something vague but intriguing. I thought for a moment, then smiled. Tell her it's going to be an unforgettable celebration of love and truth. Perfect, Holly typed rapidly. Oh, and that celebrity chef who leaked, he feels terrible. He's offering to add an extra specialty course as an apology. Santiago squeezed my hand. See? Even the setbacks are working in our favour. My phone rang again. My mother. This time, I let it go to voicemail. They're all going to be at Nancy's engagement party next week, Ruby mused. Probably talking about nothing but your mystery wedding. Let them talk, I said, feeling surprisingly calm. They wanted to make my wedding an afterthought. Now it's all they can think about. Holly's phone chimed with another message. The Society columnist's piece just went live. Mystery wedding set to outshine season's biggest events. Sources say Glass Gardens preparing for their most spectacular celebration yet. We all huddled around her phone to read the article. It was perfect, just enough details to fuel speculation, but nothing concrete revealed. Your Aunt Caroline just shared it, Ruby reported, scrolling through social media. She added, some people will do anything for attention. I laughed. Says the woman throwing her daughter an engagement party with ice sculptures. Santiago kissed my temple. You okay with all this? I looked around at my support team, Holly efficiently managing the chaos, Ruby defending me in the family group chats, and Santiago standing by me through it all. You know what? I really am. They wanted to make my wedding invisible. Now it's all anyone can talk about. I picked up my phone and finally listened to my mother's voicemail. Sophia, please call us. We need to talk about what you're doing. This isn't like you. I deleted the message without finishing it. She was right about one thing. This wasn't like the old me, and that was exactly the point. The real invitations just went out. Holly announced, bursting into my apartment with a stack of RSVPs. And oh my God, you won't believe who's coming! Ruby looked up from her laptop where she'd been monitoring the family drama. Spill! That award-winning actress I worked with last year, she's in, the mayor and his wife, in, 3 social media influencers with over 1 million followers each, all in. Santiago whistled. How many RSVPs so far? 98 acceptances in the first hour, Holly beamed. The Glass Garden's Instagram followers doubled after people started getting the invitations. My phone buzzed. Another message from Nancy. Just heard someone at my yoga class talking about a huge wedding at the Glass Gardens. Weird that you haven't mentioned anything. Speaking of Nancy, Ruby said, her engagement party is tomorrow night. Are you sure you want to skip it? Oh, absolutely, I replied. Let them wonder why we're too busy to attend. Holly's tablet pinged. Oh, the local news wants to do a segment on upcoming society events. They're featuring Nancy's engagement party and the mysterious Glass Gardens wedding in the same piece. Nancy's going to lose it, Ruby grinned. Right on cue, my mother called. I put her on the speaker. Sophia, please be reasonable. Everyone's talking about this secret wedding. Your Aunt Caroline is beside herself. Nancy's engagement party is tomorrow, and all anyone can discuss is your publicity stunt. Mum, I'm busy with wedding preparations. We can talk later. What preparations? The community centre handles everything, unless... She paused. Sophia, are you really having your wedding at the Glass Gardens? Guess you'll have to wait and see, I replied, channeling Ruby's earlier response to Nancy. Enjoy the engagement party. After hanging up, Holly spread out more RSVPs. The society columnist who wrote about the wedding, she's coming too, and she wants to do a follow-up piece about the wedding that has the whole city talking. Santiago picked up one of the elegant invitations. These are incredible. The contrast with the basic ones we sent to your family is perfect. About those, Ruby interrupted, showing us her phone. Nancy just posted a photo of her invitation to your simple community centre wedding with the caption, "Supporting family even when they make strange choices." Let her, I said. She has no idea what's coming. Holly's phone rang. It's the Glass Gardens manager again. Apparently, your Aunt Caroline tried to bribe one of their staff members for information. We all burst out laughing. The staff member told her the venue was preparing for their biggest event ever, but couldn't reveal any details due to a confidentiality agreement, Holly continued. She offered to double whatever you're paying them. Did anyone tell her the bride already signed an exclusivity contract? Santiago asked. Nope, they're enjoying the mystery too much. My phone lit up with a text from my father. Your mother can't sleep. She's worried you're going into debt trying to compete with Nancy. Please be sensible. Ruby read the message over my shoulder. Should we tell them you and Santiago have been saving for years while they were busy funding Nancy's life? No, I replied. Let them think what they want. Tomorrow they'll be at Nancy's engagement party with their ice sculptures and hotel banquet food, wondering why we're too busy to attend. Holly's tablet pinged again. The celebrity chef just posted a teaser about the wedding menu on his Instagram. He didn't mention names, but he called it the most ambitious wedding menu I've ever created. Nancy's mother just shared it, Ruby reported, with the caption, "Some people need to remember what weddings are really about." Rich, coming from someone who's throwing an engagement party that costs more than most weddings, Santiago muttered. My phone buzzed with another family message. Please come tomorrow. Nancy's hurt that you're missing her special day. Special day, I scoffed. Like my wedding day isn't special. Holly gathered up the RSVPs. Trust me, after this wedding, no one will remember Nancy's engagement party. The Glass Gardens manager said they've never seen such excitement about an event. And the best part, Ruby added, your family still thinks they're going on their cruise right after your simple ceremony. I picked up one of the real invitations, running my fingers over the embossed details. Let them enjoy Nancy's party tomorrow. Let them gossip about the mystery wedding at the Glass Gardens. In 2 weeks, they'll realize exactly what they chose to miss. To the wedding, they'll never forget, Santiago raised his coffee cup. To the wedding, they'll never forget, we all echoed, as my phone continued to buzz with messages from family members who had no idea what was really coming. The glass gardens glowed like a crystal palace as my family pulled into the parking lot, their faces a mixture of shock and disbelief as they took in the line of luxury cars and the red carpet leading to the entrance. "There must be some mistake," my mother stammered, clutching her simple purse. "Sophia's wedding is at the community centre." Holly appeared at the entrance, clipboard in hand, looking every inch the high-end event planner she was. "Welcome, names please." "We're the bride's parents," my father said, still staring at the magnificent venue. "Ah yes, Mr. and Mrs. Shepherd, please follow me." Holly's smile was professional, but I could see the satisfaction in her eyes. Inside, the transformation was breathtaking. Living flower walls changed colours in sync with the string quartet's music. Celebrity chef Marcus's staff orchestrated a dance of gourmet appetizers through the crowd. Photographers and social media influencers mingled with local celebrities and business leaders. "Is that the mayor?" my Aunt Caroline whispered loudly, clutching Nancy's arm. Nancy, still wearing her engagement party dress from 2 weeks ago, looked like she'd swallowed something sour. But how?" Ruby appeared beside them, champagne in hand. "Oh, you haven't seen anything yet. Wait until dinner." I watched from a private room as my family was escorted to their seats, their stunned expressions reflected in the glass ceiling above. Santiago squeezed my hand. "Ready?" More than ever. The ceremony was everything we'd dreamed of and more. As we exchanged vows under the sunset-painted glass dome, surrounded by cascading flowers and soft music, I caught glimpses of my family's faces. My mother was crying. Whether from emotion or embarrassment, I couldn't tell. My father kept adjusting his collar, looking increasingly uncomfortable. Nancy sat rigid in her seat, her phone forgotten in her lap for once, but it was the reception that truly left them speechless. Chef Marcus unveiled his masterpiece of a menu, each course more spectacular than the last. The chocolate waterfall cake drew gasps and camera flashes from every corner. The headline performer, a famous singer Holly had somehow booked, had everyone on their feet. "Sophia," my mother finally approached me, her voice shaking. "How? Why didn't you tell us?" "Tell you what, Mom, that Santiago and I had been saving for years, that we could afford our dream wedding without help. Would you have believed me, or would you have been too busy planning Nancy's engagement cruise? But the community centre invitations were exactly what you expected from me. The afterthought, the simple wedding you could easily skip for a cruise." My father joined us, looking sheepish. "About the cruise? Don't worry," I smiled sweetly. "I'm sure you'll see plenty of photos on social media. The society columnist is doing a full spread." Aunt Caroline stormed over, her face flushed. This is completely inappropriate, trying to overshadow Nancy's engagement." "Like you tried to overshadow my wedding," I countered. "Besides, I thought you couldn't afford to contribute to wedding expenses right now. Funny how that worked out." Nancy appeared, her perfect makeup slightly smeared. "I can't believe you did this. My engagement party was supposed to be the event of the season." "Oh, honey," Holly interrupted, sliding past with her tablet. "This isn't the event of the season. This is the event of the year. Check your social media." Everyone pulled out their phones. The hashtag was already trending. Photos and videos flooded every platform. The glass gardens, the celebrity guests, the spectacular food. It was everywhere. "Your cruise ship leaves in an hour, doesn't it?" I asked innocently. "Better hurry if you want to make it." My mother's hand trembled as she lowered her phone. "Sophia, we can cancel the cruise." "Don't bother. You made your choice 2 months ago. Besides, we're fully booked with guests who actually wanted to be here." Ruby appeared with a champagne toast. "Time for the bride and groom's first dance. Everyone to the dance floor." As Santiago led me to the centre of the room, under the starlit glass ceiling, I caught one last glimpse of my family. They stood frozen, watching as celebrities, influencers, and distinguished guests filled the dance floor around us. "Think they've learned their lesson?" Santiago whispered as we danced. "Look at their faces," I replied. "They're finally seeing me, really seeing me for the first time." The photographer's flashes lit up the room, capturing what would soon be splashed across social media and local magazines. Not bad for the family afterthought. Nancy's last Instagram post about her engagement party had gotten 200 likes. The first photo from my wedding, posted just minutes ago by a celebrity guest, already had 20,000 and counting. Sometimes karma doesn't just come around. It arrives in spectacular style under a glass ceiling, with a chocolate waterfall cake and a trending hashtag. The morning sun streamed through the glass garden's ceiling as the cleaning crew cleared the last traces of our spectacular celebration. I sat at one of the few remaining tables, scrolling through the flood of messages and social media posts. "Your wedding is still trending," Ruby announced, sliding into the seat beside me with 2 coffee cups. "Nancy hasn't posted anything since last night." Holly joined us, her tablet displaying multiple news articles. "The Society columnist's piece just went live. Want to hear the headline?" "Mystery Wedding Revealed, the social event that changed everything." My phone buzzed. A text from my mother. "We missed our cruise. Can we talk?" "They actually skipped the cruise." Ruby peered at my screen. "That's unexpected." "We're at the cafe down the street," I texted back, then looked at my friends. "Want to witness one last showdown?" Santiago arrived just as my parents walked into the cafe. They looked tired, dishevelled, very unlike their usual polished selves. "Hi, Mom, Dad, no Nancy or Aunt Caroline." "They took the cruise," my father said quietly. "We couldn't." My mother's hands shook as she clutched her purse. "Why didn't you tell us? About the savings, about the plans?" "Would it have mattered?" I asked. "You were ready to leave my wedding early for a cruise. You dismissed every attempt I made to talk about our plans." "We thought," my father started, then stopped. "We didn't think." "No, you didn't. You were too busy thinking about Nancy's engagement party, Nancy's cruise, Nancy's everything." "The Glass Gardens called this morning," my mother blurted out. "They said you and Santiago booked it months ago, that you paid for everything yourselves." "Unlike Nancy's engagement party," I noted. "How much did that ice sculpture cost, Mum?" She flushed. "Sophia, we're sorry. We've been blind." "Blind? You've been cruel," Ruby interjected. "Do you know how many times Sophia cried over your treatment of her?" Holly's tablet pinged. "Sorry to interrupt, but you might want to see this. Nancy just posted." We all leaned in to read. "Congratulations to my cousin Sophia on her beautiful wedding. I've learned some hard lessons about assumptions and priorities. I'm sorry." "She turned off comments," Ruby observed. "Smart move." My father cleared his throat. "We saw the Society column this morning. They called it a masterclass in elegant revenge. Is that what this was? Revenge?" "No," Santiago answered before I could. "This was about Sophia finally doing something for herself without worrying about everyone else's expectations or judgments." "The revenge part was just a bonus," Ruby added with a smirk. My mother wiped her eyes. "We missed so much by focusing on the wrong things. The cruise seemed so important yesterday morning. Funny how priorities can shift," I said, showing them my phone. The wedding photos were everywhere, each one more stunning than the last. "But you know what? I'm glad you stayed. It means you finally made the right choice." "Can we—" My father hesitated. "Can we try to make different choices going forward?" Holly's tablet lit up again. "The Glass Gardens wants to know if they can use your wedding photos in their promotional materials. They're calling it their most successful event ever." I looked at my parents, seeing the regret and hope in their eyes. "Different choices sound good, but no more comparisons with Nancy. No more dismissing my achievements. No more taking me for granted." "No more," they agreed in unison. "And maybe," I added, "we can start with brunch. I hear Chef Marcus makes an amazing brunch spread." "He's actually waiting for us at the gardens," Holly smiled. Part of your package included a morning after breakfast. I may have saved a few spots. As we walked back to the gardens, my mother touched my arm. Your wedding, it wasn't just beautiful. It was a statement. Yes, I agreed, a statement that I'm not an afterthought, that I never was. The glass gardens glowed in the morning light, still magical even without the evening's glamour. Inside, Chef Marcus had created another masterpiece, a brunch spread that would probably end up on social media too. To new beginnings, Santiago proposed, raising his mimosa, and better choices, my father added. As we clinked glasses, my phone buzzed one last time. A message from Aunt Caroline. Nancy's been crying since we boarded the ship, but maybe that's not such a bad thing. Some lessons need tears to be learned. I showed the message to Ruby, who grinned. Now that's what I call a satisfying ending. No, I corrected her, watching my parents actually listening as Santiago described our honeymoon plans. That's what I call a satisfying beginning. The sun streamed through the glass ceiling, casting rainbow patterns across our table. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about getting even. It's about finally being seen, heard, and respected. And sometimes it takes a spectacular wedding to make that happen.
The moment your child collapses on stage is forever burned into your memory, like a photograph negative that won't fade no matter how many times you blink. I was sitting in the third row, dead centre, watching my 12-year-old daughter, Quinn, perform Chopin's Nocturne in E-flat major when her fingers suddenly froze over the keys. My name is Karen, and I've spent the last 15 years of my life making sure nothing bad ever happened to my little girl. But in that moment, as Quinn's face went pale and her body crumpled beside the grand piano, I realised I had failed. "Quinn!" I screamed, already halfway down the aisle before her head hit the stage floor. Other parents were rising from their seats, murmuring in confusion, but I barely registered them. My heels clattered against the wooden steps as I rushed onto the stage. "Give her space!" someone called out, but I pushed past the gathering crowd. Quinn's chest was rising and falling rapidly, her skin clammy to the touch. I knew exactly what this was. She'd missed her medication. But that was impossible. I'd watched her take it myself before the recital. "Mum?" Quinn's voice was barely a whisper. "I don't feel good." "It's okay, baby. I'm here." I reached for her purse, fumbling for the pill case. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely open it. When I did, my blood ran cold. Instead of Quinn's prescribed tablets, there were small, white candies. Sugar pills. "Someone call 911!" I shouted, my voice cracking with panic. "Oh, Karen, don't be so dramatic." My sister Lindsay's voice cut through the chaos like a knife. She stood in the stage wing, arms crossed, wearing that same smirk she'd had since we were kids. "She's probably just nervous." I whirled around. "These aren't her pills. Someone replaced them with candy." "Really?" Lindsay's eyebrows rose in mock surprise. "Well, maybe a little humility would do her good. She's been getting awfully full of herself lately, don't you think?" The world stopped spinning. "What did you say?" "Karen!" My mother Sylvia appeared beside Lindsay, already shaking her head. "Stop causing a scene. Quinn is fine. She's just seeking attention, just like you always did." Quinn's breathing was getting worse. I could see the fear in her eyes as she clutched my hand. "My daughter needs emergency medical attention," I said through gritted teeth, pulling out my phone. "Someone tampered with her medication." "Don't you dare call 911, Sylvia hissed. "Think of how it will look. Think of your sister's wedding next month. We don't need this kind of drama right now." I hit the emergency dial button anyway, watching Lindsay's smirk fade slightly. "Yes, hello?" My daughter's collapsed at the Riverside Community Centre. She has a medical condition and someone's tampered with her medication. "Karen!" Sylvia grabbed for my phone, but I stepped away. The paramedics arrived within minutes, though it felt like hours. As they loaded Quinn onto a stretcher, I heard Lindsay whisper to our mother, "She's always been jealous of the attention I get. This is probably just another one of her stunts. I watched them wheel my baby girl toward the ambulance, her small hand still reaching for mine. The stage lights felt too bright, the whispers of the lingering audience too loud. My sister's words echoed in my head. A little humility would do her good. That's when something inside me changed. Maybe it was the way Quinn's fingers had trembled as she grasped my hand, or maybe it was 38 years of swallowing my sister's cruelty while our mother looked the other way. But in that moment, watching the ambulance doors close on my daughter's pale face, I made a decision. "Karen," Sylvia called out as I headed for my car. "Where are you going?" "We need to discuss how to handle this situation." I turned to face them both. My mother in her expensive dress, my sister with her perfectly styled hair, and that damn smirk still playing at the corners of her mouth. "I'm going to the hospital with my daughter," I said calmly, "and then I'm going to make sure you both learn what real humility feels like." "Is that a threat?" Lindsay laughed, but there was uncertainty in her eyes now. I didn't answer. I didn't need to. Instead, I got in my car and followed the ambulance, my hand steady on the steering wheel for the first time since Quinn collapsed. They thought they knew me. The quiet sister, the obedient daughter, the one who always backed down. But they had never seen me as a mother protecting her child. That was the day I decided they would pay, not just for Quinn's sake, but for every time they'd hurt us and walked away smiling. And I knew exactly where to start. The steady beep of Quinn's heart monitor was the only sound in the hospital room as I watched her sleep. She looked so small in that white bed, her dark hair spread across the pillow like spilled ink. The doctor said she'd be okay, but those hours of uncertainty had aged me a decade. My phone buzzed again, the 15th text from my mother in 2 hours. I finally checked it. "Coming home soon? Need help arranging flowers for Lindsay's bridal shower tomorrow." I switched the phone off and dropped it in my purse. That's when I noticed Quinn stirring. "Mum." Her voice was scratchy. "I'm here, baby." I moved closer, brushing hair from her forehead. "How are you feeling?" "Better." She paused, picking at her blanket. "Aunt Lindsay did it, didn't she? She switched my pills." My chest tightened. "What makes you say that?" "I heard her talking to Grandma last week. She said I was showing off with the Chopin piece, that I needed to learn my place." Quinn's eyes met mine. Why does she hate me so much? Before I could answer, my best friend Lara appeared in the doorway, carrying a teddy bear and what looked like legal documents. "Hey, sweetie," she said to Quinn, setting the bear beside her. "Mind if I borrow your mum for a minute?" In the hallway, Lara's smile disappeared. "I brought what you asked for, your father's will and trust documents." "Thanks." I took the folder, remembering that day 6 months ago when Dad's will was read. Lindsay had been so sure she'd get control of the family trust. The look on her face when it went to me instead. I'd never seen her so angry. "Karen," Lara's voice was gentle, "what are you planning?" "I'm going to make sure my sister's perfect wedding never happens. That's a lot of money to mess with." "Are you sure?" "She tried to hurt my daughter Lara on purpose." My voice cracked, and Mum's already trying to sweep it under the rug like she always does. As if on cue, my mother's voice rang out from the elevator bank. "Karen, there you are!" Sylvia strode toward us in her designer suit, perfectly coiffed as always. "Why aren't you answering your phone?" "The florist needs decisions for tomorrow's shower, and Lindsay is beside herself with worry." "Worry?" I laughed. "About what? That she'll face consequences for once?" "Don't be ridiculous." Sylvia waved her hand dismissively. "Quinn is fine. You're being dramatic as usual. Now, about the flowers. My daughter is in the hospital because Lindsay tampered with her medication." "You can't prove that." Sylvia's eyes narrowed. "And I won't have you spreading such vicious lies about your sister. You've always been jealous of her success." "Success?" I stepped closer. What success? Living off Dad's trust fund while I actually work for a living. Ladies, Lara interrupted, this is a hospital. Sylvia straightened her jacket. Karen, I expect you at the house in an hour. We need to discuss how to move forward from this unfortunate incident. Lindsay's wedding is in 4 weeks, and I won't let you ruin it with these accusations. She turned on her heel and left, the click of her shoes echoing down the hallway. Lara touched my arm. What are you thinking? I opened the folder, scanning the trust documents until I found what I was looking for. Dad wasn't stupid. He put in a moral turpitude clause. If either of us commits acts of serious misconduct, access to the trust can be denied. And you have proof of what Lindsay did? I pulled out my phone, opening the security app. The recital hall has cameras everywhere, including backstage where Lindsay admitted what she did. I pressed play, and her voice filled the air. Maybe a little humility would do her good. Lara's eyes widened. That's pretty damning. I'm meeting with the trust lawyers tomorrow. I closed the folder. Lindsay's wedding venue, catering, flowers, it's all being paid through the trust. One signature from me, and it all stops. Your mother will lose her mind. Good. I looked through the window at Quinn, who was already dozing again. Maybe it's time they both learned what real consequences feel like. What about family peace? Peace. I turned to Lara. There's never been peace. There's just been me staying quiet while they hurt anyone they want. But not anymore. I clutched the folder tighter. Not my daughter. Never my daughter. Lara nodded slowly. Need help with the paperwork? Actually, I managed a small smile. I need help with something bigger. How much do you know about wedding planning? Enough to know how to unplan one. We shared a look, and for the first time since Quinn collapsed, I felt steady. Lindsay wanted to teach my daughter about humility? Fine. But first, she'd learn about karma. The trust lawyer's office was exactly what you'd expect, all mahogany and leather, with a view of downtown that probably cost more than my house. I spread the documents across Mr. Patterson's desk, while Lara took notes on her tablet. So, let me get this straight, Patterson said, adjusting his glasses. Your sister has already committed to over $150,000 in wedding expenses through the trust. I nodded, pulling up the transaction history on my phone. Venue, deposit, catering, flowers, design address, all of it scheduled to clear next week. And you have video evidence of her deliberately endangering your daughter. Plus medical records and witness statements. I slid the USB drive across his desk. Everything's there. Patterson plugged in the drive and watched the footage, his expression growing darker. When Lindsay's voice came through, maybe a little humility would do her good, he actually winced. Well, he said, removing his glasses, the moral turpitude clause is quite clear. Your father was very specific about protecting the trust from any beneficiary who demonstrated malicious intent or criminal behaviour. So, I can stop the payments. You can do more than that. He tapped the original trust document. You can freeze her access entirely, permanently. My phone buzzed. Another text from Lindsay. Where are you? Vendor needs final payment today. I ignored it. How quickly can we make this happen? I can file the paperwork within the hour. Patterson began typing. But you should know. This will cause quite a stir. Family trusts are meant to protect family, I finished. That's exactly what I'm doing. Back in the parking lot, Lara grabbed my arm. Your phone's blowing up. Sure enough, there were 20 new messages. Most from Lindsay, growing increasingly panicked. Karen, payment didn't go through. Venue manager threatening to cancel. Answer your phone. Then one from my mother. Whatever you're doing, stop it immediately. You're embarrassing the family. It's starting, Lara said quietly. Good. I started my car. Want to grab coffee? I have a feeling we'll need it. At the cafe across street, we hadn't even gotten our drinks when my phone rang. Lindsay's fiancé, Caden. Karen, what's going on? The wedding planner says all the payments are bouncing. Really? I kept my voice neutral. How strange. Lindsay's hysterical. Says you're doing this on purpose. Has she told you about Quinn's recital? About what happened to my daughter? A pause. She said Quinn had a panic attack or something. Ask her about the sugar pills, Caden. Ask her why my 12-year-old ended up in the hospital. Another pause, longer this time. What sugar pills? Check your email in about 5 minutes. You might want to sit down first. I hung up and nodded to Lara, who pressed send on her tablet. The security footage, medical reports, and trust documents were on their way to Caden's inbox. Think he'll actually watch it? Lara asked. He will when the venue cancels tomorrow. My phone buzzed again. My mother. This time I answered. What do you think you're doing? Sylvia's voice was sharp enough to cut glass. Protecting my daughter. By ruining your sister's wedding? This is childish, Karen. I raised you better than this. Did you? I stirred my coffee. Because I remember you raising Lindsay to think she could do whatever she wanted without consequences. How's that working out? If you don't fix this immediately, you'll what? Take away my inheritance? Cut me out of the will? Dad already made sure you couldn't touch this trust. That's why he left it to me. Your father would be ashamed of you. No, I said quietly. He'd be ashamed of you. For letting Lindsay hurt Quinn. For defending her instead of protecting your granddaughter. I'm coming over, she snapped. We need to discuss this face to face. I'm not home. And even if I was, there's nothing to discuss. The papers are filed, the trust is frozen. Lindsay's perfect wedding is over. I hung up as another text came through. From Caden. Just watch the video. We need to talk. All of us. Lara leaned forward. Ready for phase 2? I pulled out the second set of documents. Bank statements showing suspicious transfers from the trust to my mother's personal account, labelled as maintenance expenses. Mum's been skimming from the trust for years, I said. Time to freeze her access too. That means she'll lose the house, Lara reminded me. Your childhood home. I thought about Quinn in that hospital bed. About years of watching Lindsay hurt people while our mother looked the other way. About Dad's signature on the trust documents, giving me control because he knew this day would come. Good, I said, reaching for my phone. Time to call Patterson again. The cafe door chimed and Lindsay burst in, mascara running down her face. What have you done? I took a slow sip of coffee. I taught you about humility. Lindsay slammed her hands on our cafe table, making the coffee cups rattle. Fix this, now! I can't, I said calmly. The trust is frozen pending investigation of criminal misconduct. Criminal? She laughed hysterically. It was a joke, a harmless prank. A prank? I stood up slowly. Quinn could have died. Oh, please. Lindsay rolled her eyes. You're so dramatic. She was fine. She was in the hospital. For one night. Meanwhile, you're destroying my entire wedding. Her voice cracked. The venue just cancelled. Do you know how embarrassing that is? Almost as embarrassing as watching your daughter collapse on stage. Lara touched my arm. Maybe we should continue this somewhere more private. Too late. Other customers were already staring, phones out, recording. Perfect. You've always been jealous, Lindsay hissed. Always trying to make everything about you. Even Dad's death. You somehow manipulated him into giving you control of the trust. I never asked for the trust, I said. Dad gave it to me because he knew you couldn't be trusted with it. Ladies? A cafe employee approached nervously. I'm going to have to ask you to... It's fine, I said, gathering my things. We're leaving. Outside, Caden was waiting by his car. His face was stone cold. Lindsay, we need to talk. Not now, honey. She tried to touch his arm, but he stepped back. Yes, now. About the video Karen sent me. About what really happened at Quinn's recital. Lindsay's face went white. What video? The security footage. He pulled out his phone. Where you admitted to switching her medication. Where you said she needed to learn humility. That's not... I didn't... Lindsay spun toward me. You recorded me? The venue recorded you, I corrected. I just requested the footage. You bitch! She lunged at me, but Caden caught her arm. Stop it! He snapped. Do you realise what you did? You could have killed your niece. I would never. But you did, I cut in. And now everyone knows. The venue knows, the caterers know, the florist knows. Want to guess why they're all cancelling? Lindsay's phone buzzed. She looked at it and let out a small sob. The dress shop just cancelled my final fitting. They're refunding the deposit. Karen. My mother's voice made us all turn. She stood there in her Chanel suit, practically vibrating with rage. This ends now. Whatever game you're playing, it's not a game. I handed Caden another envelope. These are bank records showing unauthorised transfers from the trust. Mum's been stealing money for years. Sylvia's face went pale. How dare you? Those were authorised maintenance expenses. For your spa trips, your shopping sprees, your secret apartment in the city. I shook my head. Dad's will was very specific about what qualified as maintenance. Your lifestyle doesn't. What apartment? Lindsay asked sharply. Sylvia shot me a look that could kill. This is ridiculous. I'm your mother. And I'm Quinn's mother. I stepped closer. You chose to protect Lindsay after she hurt my daughter. Now you can both face the consequences. Consequences? Sylvia laughed bitterly. Like what? Like eviction. I pulled out one final document. The house is part of the trust. With your access frozen, you have 30 days to vacate. The colour drained from her face. You wouldn't. Watch me. Caden cleared his throat. I think we need to postpone the wedding. What? Lindsay whirled around. No, we can't. We have to. He wouldn't meet her eyes. I can't marry someone who would deliberately hurt a child. I didn't. Lindsay started crying. Karen, please. You have to fix this. I'll apologise to Quinn. I'll do anything. It's too late. I checked my watch. The trust board meets in an hour to review the evidence. After that, neither of you will ever see a penny from Dad's money again. You'll regret this, Sylvia said quietly. Family is forever, Karen. No, I replied, getting into my car. Family is a choice, and you both made yours when you chose to hurt Quinn. As I drove away, I watched in my rearview mirror, Lindsay crying on the sidewalk, Caden walking to his car alone, my mother standing straight-backed and proud even as her world crumbled. My phone buzzed, a text from Quinn. When are you coming back to the hospital? I smiled, making a U-turn. There was only one family member who mattered now, and she was waiting for me. Behind me, I could hear Lindsay's screams echoing across the parking lot. You've ruined everything. No, I thought. I just showed you what real humility feels like. The attic of my childhood home smelled exactly the same, like old books and broken promises. I hadn't planned on coming here, but Lara insisted we needed to check for documents before my mother's eviction. Look at this, Lara called from behind a stack of boxes. Letters from your dad? Mum keeps everything, I said, but then froze when Lara held them up. They were addressed to me. These were never opened, Lara said quietly. My hands shook as I broke the first seal. The letter was dated just weeks before Dad died. My dearest Karen, if you're reading this, I've finally found the courage to tell you the truth. I've watched for years as your mother and sister hurt you, and my silence makes me complicit. I'm leaving you the trust not because you're more responsible, though you are, but because you're the only one who will protect what's right. I'm sorry I couldn't stop them from hurting you, but I can give you the power to stop them from hurting Quinn. Karen? Lara's voice seemed far away. You okay? I wiped my eyes. He knew. All this time he knew what they were like. A floorboard creaked behind us. What are you doing up here? My mother stood in the attic doorway, her face tight with anger. I held up the letters. When were you going to give these to me? Those are private. They're addressed to me, my voice cracked. Dad wrote them for me, and you hid them. To protect you, she snapped. Your father was confused near the end. He said things he didn't mean, like the truth. I opened another letter. Like how you've been manipulating both your daughters for decades. Get out of my house. It's not your house anymore. I stood up. The trust board made their decision an hour ago. You and Lindsay are both permanently cut off. Her face went blank. You're bluffing. Check your bank account. She pulled out her phone, hands trembling as she typed. The colour drained from her face. What have you done? What Dad should have done years ago. I gathered the letters. Stopped you. Mum. Lindsay appeared behind her, eyes red from crying. Caden's calling off the wedding. He won't even talk to me. Fix this, my mother demanded. Now. No. Then I'll tell everyone what you're really like, Lindsay threatened. How you've always been jealous, always wanted what I had. Go ahead. I pulled out my phone. But first, explain this. I played the security footage again, this time with enhanced audio. Lindsay's voice filled the attic. A little humility would do her good. She's too perfect, just like her mother. Turn that off. Lindsay lunged for my phone, but Lara stepped between us. It's already online, I said calmly, along with the hospital records and police report. Police report. My mother's voice shook. Tampering with medication is a felony. I moved toward the stairs. The detective wants to speak with you both tomorrow. You'd send your own sister to jail? Lindsay whispered. You could have killed my daughter. She's fine. Because we got lucky, I shouted, making them both jump. Because the ambulance came quickly. Because the doctors knew what to do. But you didn't know that when you switched her pills, did you? You just wanted to hurt her, to hurt me. Silence filled the attic. Dust motes danced in the afternoon light, streaming through the window. Your father would be ashamed, my mother said finally. I held up his letters. Actually, I think he'd be proud. He left me these letters and the trust for exactly this moment when someone needed to protect this family from you two. My phone buzzed. A text from Quinn's nurse. She's asking for you. I have to go, I said, heading down the stairs. The eviction notice gives you 30 days. I suggest you start packing. Karen, wait. Lindsay's voice was small. Please. I'll apologise to Quinn. I'll do anything. I turned back one last time. You know what's funny? All those years, you thought Quinn needed a lesson in humility, but it was you who needed to learn what it feels like to lose everything. Outside, Lara let out a long breath. That was intense. It's not over, I said, getting into my car. They'll try something else. They always do. What makes you so sure? I held up Dad's letters. Because he warned me they would, and this time, I'll be ready. As we drove away, I watched my mother and sister in the rearview mirror, standing in the doorway of the house they'd soon lose. They looked small somehow, diminished without their power and pride. My phone buzzed again. Another text, this time from an unknown number. You've made a terrible mistake. Blood is thicker than water. I showed it to Lara. See? Already starting. What are you going to do? I smiled grimly. Exactly what Dad would have wanted. Protect what's right. The video arrived in my inbox at 3 a.m, sent anonymously, but I knew it had to be from one of Caden's event staff. The footage showed my mother and sister in what looked like a hotel conference room, their voices rising above the sound of moving furniture. This is all your fault, Sylvia screamed at Lindsay. You couldn't leave well enough alone, could you? Had to teach Quinn a lesson. Now look what's happened. I watched it 3 times before forwarding it to Patterson, my trust lawyer. His response came minutes later. This is exactly what we needed. Quinn was being discharged today, and I was gathering her things when Caden appeared in the doorway of her hospital room. Can we talk? He asked quietly. Quinn looked between us. Mum, it's okay. I need to pack anyway. In the hallway, Caden ran a hand through his dishevelled hair. I called off the wedding permanently. I heard, Lindsay, she's not who I thought she was. He pulled out his phone. Look at these texts she's been sending me. The messages were unhinged. Threats, guilt trips, promises to change. Classic Lindsay. She'll never change, I said. Neither will my mother. I know that now. He hesitated. There's something else. They're planning some kind of replacement wedding party. Private event, close friends only. They're trying to save face. I laughed. With what money? That's just it. They're asking guests to help fund it, calling it a love offering or something. My phone buzzed. Another anonymous text. Your mother is trying to file for emergency guardianship of Quinn. Claims you're mentally unstable. Wow, I showed Caden the message. They really don't give up. Karen, Lindsay's voice echoed down the hospital corridor. She was walking toward us wearing oversized sunglasses and carrying what looked like a gift bag. You need to leave, Caden said firmly. I'm here to apologize to my niece. She tried to push past us into Quinn's room. I blocked the doorway. No, you can't keep me from her forever. Lindsay's voice cracked. I made a mistake. I want to make it right. A mistake? I stepped closer. You deliberately tampered with life-saving medication. That's not a mistake. That's a crime. The police already question me. They can't prove anything. No, I pulled out my phone. What about this new video? The one where you and Mom are screaming about how you had to teach Quinn a lesson. Her face went white. What video? The one that's being added to the police report right now. You're lying. Mom? Quinn called from inside the room. Can we go home now? Lindsay tried one last time to look past me. Quinn, honey, I brought you a present. Stay away from my daughter. My voice was ice. Or the next call I make won't be to the trust lawyers. It'll be to the district attorney. She backed away slowly, then turned and ran toward the elevator. Caden watched her go with a mixture of pity and disgust. I can't believe I almost married her, he said quietly. Back in Quinn's room, she was sitting on the edge of her bed, fully dressed and ready to go. Was that Aunt Lindsay? Yes, but she's gone now. Good. Quinn picked up her backpack. I don't want to see her anyway. My phone buzzed again, this time from Patterson. Emergency hearing tomorrow regarding your mother's guardianship petition. Don't worry, we have everything we need to shut it down. What's wrong? Quinn asked, seeing my expression. Nothing, baby. I helped her with her jacket. Just more drama from Grandma and Aunt Lindsay. They're not going to stop, are they? No, I squeezed her hand. But they can't hurt us anymore. As if on cue, my mother's voice carried from the nurse's station. I'm her grandmother. I have a right to see her. Time to go, I said, guiding Quinn toward the back exit. In the parking lot, Lara was waiting with her car running. Need a getaway driver? Quinn managed a small laugh as we climbed in. Through the rear window, I could see my mother bursting out of the hospital entrance, looking around wildly. Where are we going? Quinn asked. Home, I said. And then, tomorrow, we're going to make sure they never try something like this again. How? I thought about the video, the police report, Dad's letters, and the trust documents. By showing everyone exactly who they really are. Lara pulled onto the highway just as my mother spotted our car. The last thing I saw in the mirror was her standing in the middle of the parking lot, screaming something we couldn't hear. Mom! Quinn's voice was small. Are we going to be okay? I reached back and took her hand. We already are, baby. We already are. My phone buzzed one final time. A message from Patterson. Everything's ready for tomorrow. They won't know what hit them. Good, I thought, because this time the lesson in humility would be permanent. The replacement wedding party was in full swing when I walked into the country club's ballroom. Lindsay had managed to gather about 50 people, mostly her friends who didn't know the full story yet. My mother stood near the champagne fountain, pretending everything was fine. I wasn't invited, of course, but I didn't need an invitation anymore. Oh, God, Lindsay whispered when she spotted me. Security! Security! They won't help you, I said calmly, setting my briefcase on the nearest table. I'm still a member here. Dad made sure of that. Get out! My mother hurried over, her face flushed. Haven't you done enough damage? Actually, I pulled out a stack of folders. I'm just getting started. Caden emerged from the crowd. What's going on? Karen's trying to ruin everything again, Lindsay sobbed. On my special day. Special day? I laughed. You mean your fake wedding party? The one you're funding with donated money because you lost access to the trust? The room got quieter. Guests were starting to pay attention. You want to know why she lost access? I raised my voice slightly. Because she tampered with my daughter's medication, put her in the hospital, and my mother helped cover it up. That's a lie, Sylvia snapped. Really? I opened my briefcase. I have copies for everyone. Security footage, hospital records, police reports, and the Trust Board's official findings. Oh, and let's not forget Dad's letters. What letters? Someone asked. I thought, the ones my mother hid from me. The ones where Dad explained why he left me in charge of the trust, because he knew exactly what kind of people they were. Lindsay lunged for the briefcase, but Caden caught her arm. Don't, he said quietly. It's over. I also have something else, I continued, pulling out one final document. The results of the Morgan Stanley audit, showing how my mother has been embezzling from the trust for years. The whispers grew louder. People were backing away from my mother and sister. You're just jealous, Lindsay screamed. You've always been jealous of me. Jealous? I stepped closer. Of what? Your fake life? Your lies? The way you hurt people and expect everyone to pretend it's okay? I'm your sister. No, I said quietly. You're just someone who shares my DNA. And now everyone knows exactly who you are. My mother tried one last time. Your father would be ashamed. Don't you dare talk about Dad. I pulled out his last letter. Want me to read what he really thought of you both? He wrote it all down. Please, Lindsay whispered, don't do this. Like you didn't do this to Quinn? Like you didn't try to humiliate my daughter? The room was silent now. Every eye was on us. You know what's funny? I looked around at the gathered crowd. All these people donated money to help you save face. Did you tell them where the trust money really went? Did you tell them about Quinn? I think, Caden said loudly, this party is over. People began gathering their things, murmuring amongst themselves. Someone unplugged the music. The champagne fountain gurgled to a stop. "You've ruined everything," my mother hissed. "No," I corrected her. "You did that yourselves. I just made sure everyone knew about it." I left the folders on the table and walked out, leaving them standing in their empty party room. As I reached my car, I could hear Lindsay's sobs echoing across the parking lot. My phone buzzed, a text from Quinn. "How did it go?" "It's done," I typed back. "Want to go play some piano?" "At the hospital conservatory?" "Yeah. I heard there's a little girl in the cancer ward who loves music. Thought maybe you could play for her." "On my way." I started the car, glancing back at the country club one last time. Through the windows, I could see people hurrying to their cars, leaving my mother and sister alone in their ruined celebration. My phone buzzed again. Lara this time. "Did you do it?" "Yes," I replied. And you know what? It didn't even feel like revenge. It felt like justice. Later that evening, I sat in the hospital conservatory, watching Quinn play Chopin for a small girl in a wheelchair. The child's face lit up with every note, and Quinn was smiling. Really smiling, for the first time since the recital. My phone buzzed one final time. A message from an unknown number. "You'll regret this. Family is forever." I deleted it without responding. They were wrong. Family isn't forever. Family is a choice. And sometimes the best choice is to walk away and build something better. Quinn hit the final notes of the piece, and the little girl clapped with delight. This, I thought, is what really matters. Not revenge, not punishment, just love, music, and the truth finally set free. The autumn wind scattered leaves across my father's headstone as Quinn and I approached with fresh flowers. She carried a single red-tipped rose, his favourite, and something else clutched in her small hand. "Can I do it, Mom?" I nodded, watching as she placed the rose against the granite, then carefully set a single sugar candy beside it. Our private joke, our reminder of how everything had changed. "I played Chopin again yesterday," Quinn told the headstone. "The whole piece this time, no interruptions." My phone buzzed. Another letter from my mother, forwarded by her attorney. I deleted it without reading, just like all the others. The last one I'd opened had been the same old story. Half apologies wrapped in guilt and manipulation. "Mom?" Quinn pointed toward the cemetery entrance. "Isn't that Aunt Lindsay's fiancé? I mean, ex-fiancé?" Caden was walking toward us, hands in his pockets against the chill. "I heard Lindsay moved away," he said when he reached us. "Some small town out west. Changed her name." "I know." I'd received the private investigator's report last week. She was working as a waitress, drowning in debt now that the trust money was gone forever. "How did you find us here?" "Your friend Lara told me. I wanted you to know. I testified at the disciplinary hearing about what Lindsay did to Quinn." Quinn squeezed my hand. "The medical board had suspended our family doctor for covering up the medication tampering at my mother's request. One more consequence neither of them had seen coming." "Thank you," I said quietly. "Is it true about your mum? That she lost the house?" "The trust sold it last week." I smiled slightly. "To a lovely family with 3 kids who can't wait to renovate it." "And the money?" "Going to children's hospitals. Dad would have liked that." Quinn tugged my sleeve. "Can I go play by the oak tree? Just for a minute?" I watched her skip away, her dark hair catching the sunlight. She was stronger now, more confident. The nightmares about the recital had finally stopped. "She's resilient," Caden observed. "She is." I turned back to my father's grave. "More than any of us knew." "Listen." Caden shifted uncomfortably. "There's something else. Your mother, she's been calling my office, trying to get me to help her appeal the trust decision. Says she's living in some tiny apartment now." "Good. You really don't feel bad? About any of it?" I thought about Quinn collapsed on that stage, about years of watching Lindsay hurt people while our mother enabled her, about Dad's letters hidden away while I blamed myself for everything. No, I said finally, I don't feel bad. They chose cruelty over kindness, pride over love, every single time. Mom, Quinn called from the oak tree. Look what I found. She came running back with something in her hands, a perfect red maple leaf, the same colour as the tip of the rose on Dad's grave. Can we press it in your journal, like Grandpa taught us? My throat tightened. Of course we can. Caden cleared his throat. I should go. I wanted you to know you did the right thing. All of it. After he left, Quinn and I stood quietly by Dad's grave. The wind picked up, sending more leaves dancing around us. Do you miss them? Quinn asked suddenly. Grandma and Aunt Lindsay? I miss who I wanted them to be, I answered honestly, but not who they really were. Me too. She placed the maple leaf carefully next to the sugar candy. But I'm glad we have each other. My phone buzzed one last time. A message from Lara. Hospital board approved the new children's wing. The trust money's doing good things. I showed Quinn the text, watching her face light up. Want to go play piano for the kids in the cancer ward again? Yes, she practically bounced with excitement. I learned a new piece just for them. As we walked back to the car, I glanced over my shoulder at Dad's grave. The red-tipped rose stood bright against the grey stone, the sugar candy and maple leaf beside it like small offerings to memory. They say revenge is sweet, but this wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about justice, about protecting what mattered, about choosing love over obligation. Dad had known that when he left me the trust. He'd known exactly what would happen one day. Ready? Quinn called from the car. Ready, I answered, turning away from the past and towards something better. Something real. They say family is forever, but they're wrong. Family is a choice, and sometimes the best choice is to let go of the family you were born with and build the one you deserve. Quinn was already humming her new piece as we drove away, and I smiled. This was our forever now, and it was better than anything revenge could have given us.
You're seriously giving me this? That was the moment it happened. Not a scream, not a slap, not even a dramatic gasp, just those 6 words dripping with disgust as my sister held the scrapbook like it was a used tissue. I blinked. It's a scrapbook. I made it myself. It has photos of us from when we were kids, and I know what it is, Sienna snapped, flipping a page with 2 fingers like it might bite her. God, Pearl, you're 30. Why are you still giving me arts and crafts? The room was empty now, just the 2 of us in the bridal suite after her shower. Earlier, the place had been packed with pastel cupcakes, fake laughter, and Presley squealing over lingerie. Now it was quiet, except for the sound of my heart thudding in my ears. I thought it'd be meaningful, I said. There's a page with Grandma's recipe in her handwriting, and the plane ticket stub from our first Disneyland trip. I spent weeks on it. Sienna rolled her eyes so hard I thought they might get stuck. I told you we needed cash for the honeymoon. Jason and I are doing Bora Bora, not Memory Lane. She shoved the scrapbook back into the gift bag and tossed it onto the floor like it offended her. If you're not going to contribute to the fund, just say so. Don't do this whole sentimental guilt trip thing. I stood there, still holding the ribbon I'd tied around the bag. You asked for personal gifts at the shower. Yeah, from people who can't afford to do more. You can. You're always bragging about your savings account. I wasn't. I never bragged. I just once mentioned I'd paid off my student loans early, and somehow that became family code for Pearls the Bank. She crossed her arms. Look, it's not a big deal. Just Venmo me $2,000 or whatever. We'll call it even. Even. Like the last 15 years of bailing her out of overdraft fees, co-signing her car lease, and covering Mum's surprise birthday dinner that Sienna planned but forgot to pay for, those didn't count. I didn't say a word. I bent down, picked up the scrapbook, and pulled the ribbon free. I folded it neatly, tucked it into my purse. Then I straightened up, looked her in the eye and said, "Okay." She blinked. "Okay? Okay," I repeated. I smiled. It wasn't warm. Then I turned and walked out of the suite. My heels clicked against the tile like punctuation marks. Something in me had snapped, but it snapped quietly, and that's always more dangerous. My name is Pearl, and I've been the family doormat for 3 decades. I'm the younger sister, the responsible one, the one who always shows up. I bring extra batteries to Thanksgiving. I remember everyone's birthdays. I keep a Google sheet of who likes what kind of wine. And Sienna? She's the sun around which our mother orbits. She's the drama, the sparkle, the one who just needs a little help right now for the 12th year running. Growing up, she used to steal my Halloween candy and then cry when I told Mom. Guess who got scolded for not sharing? At the bridal shower, she was in full performance mode. Hair extensions, fake lashes, a white dress that cost more than my rent. She opened each gift with a shriek and a squeal, tossing tissue paper like confetti. Presley, her maid of honour and fellow narcissist, kept shouting, "Yes, Queen!" every time Sienna unwrapped something remotely shiny. When it was my turn, I handed over the bag with both hands. I'd wrapped it in silver paper, tied it with ribbon, even added a sprig of lavender. Sienna smiled. Plastic, tight. "Oh, from my baby sister," she cooed, loud enough for everyone to hear. She opened it, flipped through a few pages and said, "So sweet." Then she moved on like it was a card from a co-worker. But later, when the guests were gone and the champagne buzz had faded, the real Sienna came out. I drove home in silence. No music, no podcast, just the sound of traffic and my own breathing. I didn't cry. I didn't even feel sad. I felt done, like something had finally clicked into place. At a red light, I glanced at the bag in the passenger seat. The scrapbook sat inside, slightly bent. I reached in, pulled it out, and opened to the last page. There, taped carefully, was a photo of us as kids. Sienna in a princess dress, me in a dinosaur hoodie, both of us grinning. I'd captioned it, "Before we knew better." I closed the book. I didn't know exactly what I was going to do yet, but I knew what I wasn't going to do. I wasn't giving her a single cent. Not for the honeymoon, not for the wedding, not for anything. She'd thrown away my gift. Fine, I'd return the favour. But unlike her, I'd do it with style. "Jayla, guess how much money I've given Sienna since college?" Jayla didn't even look up from her iced coffee. "Oh God, don't tell me. I want to sleep tonight." I flipped my laptop around so she could see the spreadsheet. "That's just the last 5 years. Rent, emergency credit card bills, bachelorette trip deposits, the I lost my wallet incident in Vegas." Jayla squinted at the total. $9,472? Are you kidding me? Nope. And that doesn't include the time I paid her car insurance for 6 months. Jayla set her cup down. "Pearl, babe, that's not sisterhood. That's financial abuse." I gave a half shrug. She always made it seem like it was just temporary, like I was helping her get on her feet. Jayla leaned across the table. "She's been standing on your feet." We were sitting at our usual spot at the corner cafe, 2 blocks from my apartment. I'd brought the scrapbook with me, mostly out of spite. I started pulling it apart while we talked. Jayla watched as I slid out a photo of us at summer camp, then carefully peeled off the corner sticker holding an old concert ticket. "Wait, is that from the Paramore show in 2009? "Yep, and this," I held up a folded napkin, "is from our first dinner out without our parents. Sienna ordered lobster and made me split the bill." Jayla snorted. "Classic." I kept dismantling the pages, slower now. There was something weirdly satisfying about it, like reverse therapy. Then I found it. I paused, holding up a small envelope. "What's that?" Jayla asked. I opened it and pulled out a pressed flower and a thin gold chain. "It's Grandma's locket. I forgot I put it in here." Jayla's eyes widened. "Wait, is that real gold?" "Yeah, it was in a box of her old stuff. I thought it'd be meaningful." Jayla took it, examined the clasp. "Pearl, this is vintage. You could sell this." I blinked. I wasn't thinking about that. "Think about it now," she said. "You've got emotional trauma and literal treasure in here. Let's make some magic." 2 hours later, we were at a vintage jewellery shop downtown. The guy behind the counter had a man bun and a magnifying glass. He examined the locket, the charm bracelet, and a couple of other trinkets I'd added to the pile. "I can give you $1,800 for the lot," he said. Jayla nudged me. "That's almost the exact amount she demanded." I smiled. "Make it $2,000 and you've got a deal." He looked at me, then at the jewellery. "All right, done." We walked out with a cheque in my hand and a plan forming in my head. "I'm not going to her wedding," I said. Jayla stopped mid-step. "Wait, what?" "I'm not going. I'm not giving her money. I'm not giving her time. I'm done." Jayla stared at me like I'd just sprouted wings. "You're serious?" "I've never been more serious." She let out a low whistle. "Okay then, what are you going to do instead?" I pulled out my phone and opened a travel app. Something for me. We sat on a bench outside the shop while I scrolled through options. Bali was too far. Miami felt too close. Then I saw it. "Sedona," I said. Jayla leaned over. "Ooh, red rocks, spas, rich divorcee energy. I like it." I booked the trip right there. Luxury spa resort, yoga in the mornings, facials in the afternoons, 3 nights, paid in full with the exact amount I'd just gotten from the jewellery. Jayla clapped. "This is the energy I've been waiting for. Pearl 2.0. I grinned. She wanted money for her honeymoon. Great, I'm using it for mine. A solo honeymoon. Jayla raised her coffee in a toast. To self-love and not funding narcissists. I clinked my water bottle against her cup. Amen. That night, I went home and pulled out the last few things from the scrapbook. I found an old note from Sienna, written in purple gel pen. "Thanks for letting me borrow your top." I got a date. "You're the best lil sis." I stared at it for a long second. Then I tossed it in the trash. The next morning, I started packing. Not for the wedding, for Sedona. I booked a massage, scheduled a facial, and even added on a sound bath session, because why not? My phone buzzed with a text from Sienna. Sienna. "Hey, I forgive you for the ugly gift thing. Let's just move on. Bring the check to the rehearsal dinner, Kay?" I stared at the message. Jayla was right. This wasn't sisterhood. This was a transaction. I typed back one sentence. "I'll see what I can do." Then I turned off my phone and slid it into a drawer. For the first time in years, I felt like I could breathe. My phone lit up with Mom just as I was zipping up my suitcase. I let it ring once, twice. Then I answered. "Hi, Mum." "Pearl," she said, her voice already tight. "I just got off the phone with your sister." "Of course she did. She said you're being difficult about the wedding gift. What's going on?" I took a deep breath and sat on the edge of my bed. I gave her a handmade scrapbook. She didn't like it. She asked for cash instead. "Well," Mum said slowly, "you know how stressed she's been. Planning a wedding is a lot. Maybe she just didn't express herself the right way." She threw the scrapbook at me, Mom. Silence. She said it was childish, called it arts and crafts. More silence. Then, well, maybe it wasn't the right time for that kind of gift. I stared at the wall. "So now it's my fault?" "I'm not saying that. I just think you should be the bigger person. You always are." There it was. the family catchphrase, be the bigger person. Translation, let Sienna walk all over you again. I'm not giving her money, I said. Mum sighed like I'd told her I was dropping out of society to live in a cave. Pearl, please, it's not about the money. It's about family, about showing support. I've shown support for 30 years. She's your sister. I stood up. Exactly, and she should act like it. Mum's voice dropped to that guilt-laced whisper she used when she wanted to sound like a martyr. You know how she gets. Just give her the check and let's keep the peace for one weekend. I walked to the window and looked out at the street. She doesn't want peace. She wants control. Pearl, I'm not doing it. There was a pause, then a sharp, disappointed exhale. I just hope you don't regret this later. I hung up without saying goodbye. That night, I got another text from Sienna. Sienna, I just want to move forward. Bring the check to the rehearsal dinner and we can forget the drama. She was so sure I'd cave. I texted back, I'll see what I can do. Then I slid my phone into airplane mode and tossed it onto the couch. The rehearsal dinner was Friday night. I showed up in a navy dress and nude heels, smiling like nothing was wrong. I even brought a bottle of wine. Cheap, but I wrapped it nicely. Sienna spotted me the second I walked in. Her eyes scanned my hands. No envelope. Pearl, she said, air-kissing my cheek. Glad you could make it. Wouldn't miss it, I said. Jason came over grinning. Hey, glad you're here. Sienna's been running around like crazy. I smiled at him. Poor guy, still clueless. Presley floated over in a cloud of perfume and highlighter. OMG, Pearl, you look so cute tonight. Love that you're not going too glam. It's very chill bridesmaid energy. I'm not a bridesmaid, I said. She blinked. Oh, right, well, still cute. Dinner was a blur of wine, speeches, and Sienna laughing too loud at things that weren't funny. I sat between a second cousin and one of Jason's groomsmen, neither of whom knew what to say to me. I didn't mind. I was busy watching. Sienna floated from table to table, hugging people, reminding them about the honeymoon fund box that would be at the reception. Just cash or checks, please, she said, like she was running a fundraiser. Presley leaned over at one point and whispered, She's so excited for the 3K your family's contributing. She's already spent it in her head. I almost choked on my water. Oh, I said. Presley nodded. Yeah, she told me your mum's giving 1,000 and you're doing 2. That's so generous. I smiled. She's always had a vivid imagination. Presley blinked, confused. I excused myself and went to the bathroom, locked the stall, sat on the toilet seat, fully clothed and just breathed. This was it. The performance. The illusion. Everyone here thought I was the dutiful sister, the one who'd show up with a fat check and a forced smile. They had no idea I'd already booked a massage in Sedona for the same time as the ceremony. I walked out of the stall, washed my hands and looked at myself in the mirror. I didn't look angry. I looked calm, peaceful even. I dried my hands and walked back out like nothing had happened. After dinner, I hugged Jason goodbye. Excited for tomorrow? I asked. He nodded. Yeah, just ready to get through it. Sienna's been intense. She wants everything perfect. Yeah, he said, rubbing the back of his neck. I just hope she slows down after this. I didn't say anything. Sienna hugged me last. Her voice was syrupy sweet. So, you bringing the gift tomorrow? Or should I just check my Venmo? I smiled. I'll see what I can do. Then I walked to my car, heels clicking on the pavement. I didn't look back. The wedding venue looked like a Pinterest board threw up on a vineyard. White roses everywhere, gold chairs, a harpist playing something that sounded expensive. I walked in just long enough to be seen at the rehearsal dinner the night before. But today I was done pretending. The morning of the wedding, I woke up early, showered, and pulled out my suitcase. Everything was already packed. Breezy dresses, sandals, sunscreen, and a wide-brimmed hat I'd bought just for this trip. I double-checked my flight confirmation, then pulled up Instagram. I scheduled the post, a photo of my boarding pass, spa itinerary, and a caption that read, "Starting my own honeymoon. Self-love, people-pleasing." I stared at it for a second, then hit schedule. It would go live right as Sienna walked down the aisle. My phone buzzed with a message from her. Sienna. "Don't forget the card. Presley's collecting them at the reception table." I didn't reply. Instead, I opened my group text with Jayla and Patrick, our cousin who somehow knew all the family tea. Me. "Boarding in 2 hours. Say hi to the drama for me." Jayla. "You're a legend. I'm bringing popcorn to the reception." Patrick. "I'll keep you posted. Already heard Sienna's been bragging about your gift. This is going to be delicious." I grinned and turned my phone to airplane mode. At the airport, I ordered a mimosa and sat near the gate, watching the wedding unravel from a distance. I imagined Presley in her sequined dress, fluttering around with a clipboard, barking orders at the caterers. I pictured my mum telling people I was running late or not feeling well. I imagined Sienna smiling through her teeth, wondering where my envelope was. I didn't feel bad, not even a little. The plane boarded. I slid into my seat, pulled out a book, and exhaled. Meanwhile, back at the venue, the whispers started early. Patrick told me later that people noticed I wasn't in the family photos. My mum told the photographer I was on my way, but by the time the ceremony started, people started asking questions. Presley, ever the PR manager, told a bridesmaid I had a last-minute emergency. Then someone saw my Instagram post. According to Patrick, it spread like wildfire. One of the groomsmen showed Jason. Jason showed the best man. The best man asked Presley, "Is this real?" Presley asked Sienna, and that's when the meltdown began. I was poolside sipping champagne when I got the first update. Patrick. "She just found out. She's pretending it's no big deal, but her eye is twitching." Jayla. "Your mum is telling people you had food poisoning. Someone showed her the post." Patrick. "The look on her face, I wish I could frame it." I laughed out loud. The woman next to me raised an eyebrow. I just smiled and took another sip. Back at the reception, things got messier. Sienna made her grand entrance, all smiles and sparkles, but the mood had shifted. People were murmuring. Presley tried to keep the energy up, but the bridesmaids were too busy snickering over the Instagram post. Jason, sweet, clueless Jason, finally confronted Sienna. "He told me Pearl was giving you money," he said, according to Patrick. "You said she offered." Sienna scoffed. "She was supposed to. She's just being dramatic." Jason frowned. "You demanded it from her." "I didn't demand. You told her $2,000 or nothing." "She owed me," Sienna snapped. Jason stared at her like he was seeing her for the first time. Meanwhile, I was getting a hot stone massage. The spa music played softly. My phone was off. My body was loose. And for the first time in years, I wasn't carrying anyone else's weight. Later that night, I turned my phone back on. It lit up like a Christmas tree. Jayla? She cried in the bridal suite, full mascara meltdown, screamed at Presley, threw a wine glass. Patrick. Jason looked like he wanted to run. I think he finally saw the real her. Mom, call me, now. I didn't. Instead, I posted a photo of my dinner, lobster tail, roasted vegetables, and a glass of wine, with the caption, "Cheers to choosing peace over performance." The next morning, I FaceTimed Jayla from my balcony. She answered with a grin. "You are a hero." "Tell me everything," Jayla launched into it. "Okay, so Presley tried to spin it like you had a mental breakdown. Then Patrick showed everyone your post. The bridesmaids were dying. One of them said, "Honestly, I wish I'd skipped too." I laughed. "How's Sienna?" "Puffy, silent. Jason's been MIA since the cake cutting. I think he's rethinking his life." I leaned back in my chair. Good. Jayla raised her mug. "To karma?" "To boundaries," I said, and then we both burst out laughing. Back at the wedding, Sienna was left with a pile of envelopes, some empty, some thin, and a husband who was suddenly asking real questions. And me? I was in Sedona, sun on my face, not a single regret in sight. I was halfway through my second mimosa when my phone buzzed again. "Mom, call me, this is serious." Sienna. "You ruined everything." Presley. "Wow, just wow." I locked the screen and dropped the phone face down on the side table. The view from my suite was too perfect to waste on notifications. Red rocks glowing in the sunset, warm breeze, and not a single screaming bridesmaid in sight. Earlier that morning, I'd laid out my plan like clockwork. I'd woken up before sunrise, showered, and made myself a cup of tea. No music, no distractions, just calm. I laid out the clothes I'd wear to the airport: linen pants, soft tee, sandals. I packed the last few things into my carry-on: sunscreen, a book, a sleep mask. Then I opened my laptop and cued the post. It was a photo of my spa itinerary, the boarding pass tucked underneath, and a caption that read, "Can't make the wedding, prior commitment, starting my own honeymoon, self-love, people-pleasing." I scheduled it for 3:55 p.m, 5 minutes before the ceremony was set to start. I stared at the screen for a second before closing the laptop. Then I picked up my phone, opened my messages, and typed one final text to Sienna. "Me. Can't make the wedding. Prior commitment." I hit send. Then I blocked her number, blocked Mom too, blocked Presley for good measure. I turned on Do Not Disturb, zipped my suitcase, and walked out the door. At the airport, I bought a green juice and sat at the gate like I hadn't just detonated a social grenade. The flight was smooth. I spent most of it reading and ignoring the growing temptation to check my phone. By the time I landed in Arizona, the post had gone live. The comments were already rolling in. Jayla. "You did it." Patrick. "I'm at the reception. Everyone's talking. Sienna's face when she saw the post. Priceless." Bridesmaid. "I barely knew." Honestly, iconic. I turned off notifications again. I wasn't here to bask in the chaos. I was here to breathe. The resort was everything I hoped for: soft robes, citrus-infused water in the lobby, a welcome drink with a sprig of rosemary. The receptionist handed me a key card and said, "You're booked for the Serenity package, daily massage, facials, yoga, and sound healing." "Perfect," I said. I checked into my suite, kicked off my shoes, and stood on the balcony for a moment. The silence was unreal. No screaming, no guilt-tripping, no one asking for money. Just me. Later that night, I FaceTimed Jayla. She answered from her car, still in her bridesmaid dress, hair frizzed, makeup smudged. "Girl," she said, "you have no idea what you just caused." "Tell me everything," she grinned. "Okay, so first of all, Presley tried to play it off like you had a mental health emergency and needed space." I laughed. "That's rich." "Then someone showed your post to the groomsman. Jason saw it. He looked like he'd been hit by a bus." "Did he say anything?" "Yeah. He walked straight to Sienna and asked, 'Did you demand money from Pearl?'" I raised my eyebrows. "And?" "She tried to spin it. Said you were being selfish and ruining her moment. Jason didn't buy it." Jayla paused, grinning wider. Then he said, "If she needed to escape this circus, maybe I should have gone with her." I nearly dropped my phone. He said that? Word for word, babe. I let out a low whistle. Wow. "Oh, and your mum, she told people you had food poisoning. Then someone showed her your post. She turned red, like tomato red. I leaned back on the bed, laughing. I should have done this years ago. Jayla nodded. You're free now. How does it feel? I looked around at the soft lighting, the spa menu on the nightstand, the sound of wind rustling through the trees outside. Peaceful, I said. The next morning I got a massage, 90 minutes, hot stones. At one point I think I levitated. Afterward, I sat by the pool with a smoothie and let the sun warm every inch of my skin. I watched a lizard scurry across the patio and felt, for the first time in forever, completely still. Then I checked the group chat. Patrick, update, Sienna flipped out when she realised your envelope wasn't in the gift box. She made Presley count them twice. Jayla, she cornered your mum and asked where the money was. Your mum actually said maybe she finally got tired of being used. I blinked. Me. Wait, Mom said that? Patrick. Yup, out loud in front of Aunt Denise. I stared at the screen, stunned. Maybe the spell had finally broken. Maybe when I walked away, I didn't just save myself. I showed everyone what Sienna really was. That night, I ordered room service and sat on the balcony with a glass of wine. I watched the sun melt behind the rocks and thought about how long I'd let guilt dictate my life. Not anymore. I didn't need to scream. I didn't need to fight. I just needed to leave. And that, it turned out, was loud enough. Patrick called me from the parking lot of the reception, whispering like he was in a spy movie. She's losing it. I put him on speaker and set the phone on the patio table next to my mimosa. Define losing it, Patrick exhaled. Okay, so first she tried to play it cool, acted like you were just running late. Then someone showed her the Instagram post. She froze, like full statue mode. I sipped my drink. And? She stormed off. Presley followed her. 10 minutes later, they came back and started counting the envelopes. I laughed. You're kidding. Nope. Presley had a clipboard. I think she had a whole spreadsheet. They were whispering, flipping through cards, checking names. I could practically see it. Sienna in her sparkling white dress, flipping through wedding cards like a tax auditor. I leaned back in my chair, soaking in the Arizona sun. So what happened when they realized mine was missing? She said, and I quote, Pearl must have mailed it. She's just being dramatic. I snorted. Sure, that tracks. Then Jason walked over. My ears perked up. What did he say? He asked why you weren't there. Sienna said you bailed for attention. Jason didn't buy it. He said you told him at the rehearsal dinner you were excited. Then he asked Presley if you'd said anything to her. And Presley looked like she swallowed a lemon. She said, Pearl's always been weird. Nice. Jason didn't let it go. He said, did she give you guys money? Presley said no. Then he asked Sienna flat out, did you demand money from your sister? I sat up straighter. And what did she say? She said, she's family. She owes me. I blinked. She actually said that? Loudly, in front of the DJ? I burst out laughing. Oh my God, Patrick chuckled. Then Jason walked off. He hasn't spoken to her since. He's been talking to the best man and drinking straight whiskey. I shook my head. He's seeing it now. Everyone is. The bridesmaids were whispering about your post. One of them said, honestly, Pearl made the right call. I grinned. Tell them I said thanks. Oh, and your mum tried to cover for you again, told Aunt Denise you were sick with a stomach bug. Then someone showed her your post. She turned purple. Did she say anything? Patrick laughed. She said, that girl is going to kill me. Then she sat down and didn't move for 20 minutes. I stood up and stretched. Sounds like a great party. Oh, it gets better. During the cake cutting, Sienna tried to smile for photos but kept glancing at the gift table. Then She whispered something to Presley, who ran back and counted the envelopes. Again. Twice. 3 times now. I shook my head. She really thought I'd show up with a fat check and a fake smile. She underestimated you. I looked out at the red rocks glowing under the setting sun. She always did. An hour later, Jayla sent me a video. It was shaky, taken from behind a floral centerpiece, but the audio was clear. Sienna stood at the head table, wineglass in hand, wild-eyed. "I just think it's funny," she said, voice rising, "how some people, family, can't even show up for the most important day of your life." Jason stood next to her, stiff, arms crossed. Presley tried to pull her back. "Babe, let's just—" "No," Sienna snapped. "She made this about her. She's always been jealous, always needed to make everything about her." Someone in the background coughed. A few guests looked away. The DJ awkwardly turned the music volume down. Jayla's voice, off-camera, whispered, "This is better than Netflix." By the time the reception ended, my phone was blowing up. Patrick. "She cried in the bridal suite. Lock the door. Presley's trying to calm her down." Jayla. Jason left early, didn't even stay for the sparkler exit. Bridesmaid again. "Pearl, you won the wedding." I opened our cousin group chat. Someone had changed the name to Pearl's Wedding Now. I laughed so hard I nearly spilled my drink. The next morning, I checked my phone while sipping coffee on the balcony. A new message had popped up in the anonymous group chat someone started for the bridal party. Unknown. That meltdown was iconic. Pearl actually won the wedding. Another. "Is she single? Asking for my brother." Jayla. "She's booked and busy, babe." I spent the rest of the day hiking, getting another massage, and eating a ridiculously overpriced avocado toast. I didn't check my phone again until sunset. There was one new message from an unknown number. Unknown. "You hurt a lot of people. Hope it was worth it." I blocked it without replying. It was worth it. Every second. The wedding was over. The guests had gone home. The flowers were already wilting in their centerpieces. But Sienna, she was just getting started with her breakdown. I was lying face down on a massage table in Sedona, warm oil being poured down my back, when Jayla called. I usually wouldn't answer, but I had a feeling. I slid my phone off the side table and answered with a whisper. "What now?" Jayla didn't even say hello. She flipped out like full meltdown, screaming, crying, accusing people. I propped myself up on one elbow. "At who?" "Everyone," she said. "She accused Presley of stealing envelopes, said someone must have taken your card." I blinked. She really thinks I mailed her a check. She thinks someone stole the check you didn't give. I flopped back down and laughed into the massage table. Jayla kept going. She went down the list of guests, asking who gave what. She even asked Jason's aunt how much she put in the envelope. "You're kidding." "Not even a little." She said, "I just need to know who actually supports me." Jason pulled her aside, and they had a full argument in the hallway. People heard everything. What did he say? He said, "I married you, not your Venmo." Then he asked if she even cared about the day or just the money. I whistled. Ouch. She said, "You don't get it. Pearl humiliated me. She made me look like a beggar." I sat up now, the massage forgotten. She made herself look like a beggar. Exactly. I grabbed a robe and walked out onto the balcony. So what now? Are they still married? Jayla hesitated. They're technically married, but Jason left the hotel last night. He booked a separate room. They haven't spoken since. I stared out at the desert. Wow, she's spiraling, Jayla said. Presley tried to calm her down, but Sienna turned on her too, Said, "You were supposed to manage this. You let her embarrass me." I snorted. She wanted a wedding planner, not a friend. Presley told her she was acting like a spoiled brat. Then she left. Presley left? Yep, took off her heels and walked out barefoot. It was kind of beautiful. I smiled. Karma's not always a thunderbolt. Sometimes it's a barefoot bridesmaid walking across a gravel driveway. Jayla laughed. You're a poet now? I'm relaxed. Well, enjoy it. You earned this. That night, I posted a photo of the sunset from my balcony. No caption, just light and sky and silence. People flooded the comments. Cousin Leah. This is the energy I want in my life. Jailer. Queen behaviour. Random groomsman. Wish I'd gone with you. I didn't respond to any of them. I didn't need to. Meanwhile, back home, Sienna was unravelling. Patrick sent me a voice memo the next day. She's calling everyone, trying to do damage control, told Aunt Denise you were mentally unstable and needed help. I rolled my eyes. She told Jason's mum you were jealous of her happiness. Jason's mum said she looked pretty happy in Sedona. I laughed. She saw the post. Everyone saw the post. The next morning, I checked my email and saw a subject line that made me pause. Proposal. Book idea. Boundaries and burnout. It was from a small publishing house I'd submitted to months ago. I'd written a sample chapter about emotional labour in families, titled The Cost of Being the Responsible One. I opened the email. They wanted to offer me a deal. I sat there, stunned, the spa music still playing softly from my Bluetooth speaker. Jayla called right as I was processing it. Guess what? I said. What? I got a book deal. She screamed so loud I had to pull the phone away from my ear. Shut up! Shut up! I'm serious. Pearl, you're about to be a published author. And the family legend who skipped the wedding. You're unstoppable. I laughed. Feels like it. Jayla paused. So, what happens when you go back? I looked out at the mountains. I don't know, but I'm not scared of her anymore. That night, I took a long bath, poured myself a glass of wine, and scrolled through the anonymous group chat one last time. Someone had posted a meme, a photo of a woman walking away from a burning building with sunglasses on. Caption, Pearl walking out of the family group chat like... I laughed so hard I nearly dropped my phone. The comments underneath were even better. She didn't attend the wedding, but she gave us all a gift. I aspire to Pearl's level of peace. Honestly, she's the main character now. I didn't reply. I didn't need to. I just smiled, locked my phone, and went to bed. Sienna had always counted on me to be quiet, to keep the peace, to write the check. But this time, I chose myself. And that silence, it was the loudest thing I'd ever done. I was unpacking my suitcase when the doorbell rang. No knock, just the bell, sharp and impatient. I peeked through the peephole. Sienna. She stood there in flats and sunglasses, arms crossed, shoulders tense. I opened the door halfway, blocking most of the entry with my body. Hi, I said. She pulled off her sunglasses like it was a dramatic movie scene. We need to talk. I didn't move. About what? She pushed a breath through her nose. You humiliated me. I tilted my head. No, you did that yourself. Her jaw clenched. You abandoned your family. You bailed on my wedding. You made me look like a fool. I leaned against the doorframe. You screamed at me over a scrapbook, demanded money like it was owed. You look like a fool. She stepped forward, but I didn't move. I was stressed. Weddings are a lot. You blindsided me. I crossed my arms. You asked for $2,000. You threw my gift in the trash. I didn't throw it. You tossed it on the floor and called it arts and crafts. She blinked. It wasn't about the gift, it was about the principle. I laughed. Exactly. And the principle is, I'm not your ATM anymore. Sienna's face twisted. You think you're better than me now? No, I said. I think I'm done with you. That landed. She stepped back like I'd slapped her. You didn't just skip the wedding, she said. You made a show of it. You posted about it. You wanted people to talk. No, I said. I wanted peace. I just didn't care if people talked. She stared at me for a long second. Then her voice dropped. Jason's not speaking to me. I didn't reply. He said I embarrassed him, that I made the whole day about money. I raised an eyebrow. Did you? She didn't answer. I'm not the villain here, she said, quieter now. No, I said. You're the consequence. Her eyes flashed. So that's it? You're just walking away? I already did. She looked around like she might scream, but nothing came out. Just silence. She finally turned and walked back to her car. No goodbye, no apology. I closed the door and locked it. Later that afternoon, Jayla showed up with 2 coffees and a bag of croissants. Tell me everything, she said, kicking off her shoes. She came to the door, I said, handing her a napkin. Tried to spin it, blamed me, said Jason's mad, still didn't apologise. Jayla bit into a croissant. Of course not. Narcissists don't do accountability. She said I made a show of it. Jayla snorted. You made a statement. There's a difference. I smiled. She's unravelling. She's exposed, Jayla corrected. She's always been this way, now everyone sees it. I sat down on the couch. She asked if I was just walking away. Jayla looked at me. And you are, right? I nodded. Yeah, I am. She raised her coffee. To walking away. I clinked my mug against hers. To never going back. That night, I got an email from my editor. Subject. Cover concept attached. I opened the file. The book title was in bold across a soft minimalist background. The Cost of Yes, How I Stopped Saving Everyone Else and Started Saving Myself. I stared at it for a long second, then clicked Download. I sent the image to Jayla. She replied with a single word. Chills. The next morning, I checked my mail. Bills, a coupon for a pizza place I never go to, and 1 small white envelope with no return address. I opened it slowly. Inside was a blank wedding thank you card. No message, no signature, just empty. I stared at it, then let out a laugh, short and sharp. I walked to my bookshelf, tucked it between 2 books and stepped back. It sat there like a trophy, not of the wedding, of the win.
The call came at 3:47 a.m. I remember staring at my phone's screen, watching Mom's name flash urgently as my stomach twisted into knots. Late-night calls from family are never good news. My name is Prudence. And that call changed everything. He's dying, Mom sobbed into the phone. Ian, the doctors, they don't know what else to try here. I sat up in bed, fully awake now. What happened? Is he in the hospital? It's his heart. They found something during his checkup last week. It's spreading fast and the only specialist who can help is in Singapore. Her voice cracked. We need help, sweetie. Your father and I, we've maxed everything out trying to get him treatment. I pulled up my laptop, hands shaking. How much are we talking about? The procedure is $175,000. Dad's voice suddenly came through. They had me on speaker. His usual commanding tone was replaced with something I'd never heard before. Desperation. We've scraped together most of it, but we're still short $87,000. The hospital needs the full amount before they'll schedule surgery. My throat went dry. That was almost everything I had saved since starting my first job at 16. Years of overtime, packed lunches and saying no to vacations, all sitting in my someday account. Can't the hospital work out a payment plan? I asked. They won't, Mom cut in. It's experimental. Insurance won't cover it. Please, Prudence, he's your brother. My laptop screen showed my banking app. The numbers felt like they were pulsing. $91,247.83. Let me talk to Ian, I said. There was shuffling, and then Ian's weak voice came through. Hey, Prue! Ian, what's happening? Are you in pain? Yeah, he whispered. It comes and goes. The doctors here say without this surgery. He trailed off, and I heard what sounded like a muffled sob. Send me a video call, I said. Please, I need to see you. Moments later, my phone lit up with FaceTime. Ian's face appeared, pale and drawn, lying against what looked like hospital pillows. The lighting was dim, but I could see dark circles under his eyes. The specialist can take me next week, he said, his voice barely audible. But if we can't pay... He closed his eyes and a tear rolled down his cheek. Don't cry, I said automatically, my chest tightening. We'll figure this out. Dad's voice came back on the line. The window for this is closing, Prudence. If we don't act now, your brother might not make it to Christmas. I looked at my savings again. The numbers that represented 13 years of careful planning, my dream of opening my own business someday, the security I'd built for myself piece by piece. How do I know this doctor is legitimate? I asked. I'll email you everything, Dad said quickly. The hospital details, the specialist's credentials, all of it. They're highly respected in Asia. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. If I do this, you'll pay me back, right? Of course, sweetie, Mum said. As soon as we can. You know we're good for it. I did know that. They'd always been comfortable. Nice house, regular vacations, new cars. They'd help me rebuild my savings once this crisis passed. Okay, I said, my voice smaller than I'd intended. I'll transfer it now. Send me the account details. Oh, thank God, Mum breathed. You're saving his life, Prudence. You're literally saving your brother's life. Dad emailed the banking information while I was still on the phone. International transfer, just as they'd said. I double-checked every number, then took a deep breath. I love you, Prue, Ian said softly. I don't know how to thank you. Just get better, I replied. That's all I want. I hit confirm on the transfer. $87,000 gone in an instant. A message popped up confirming the transaction was complete. It's done, I said. The relief in their voices was palpable. Mum was crying again, but happy tears this time. Dad kept saying thank you over and over. Ian had gone quiet, presumably from exhaustion. After we hung up, I sat in the dark, staring at my decimated account balance. The remaining $4,147.83 looked almost apologetic, like it knew it wasn't enough to do anything meaningful anymore. He better survive, I whispered to my empty bedroom, trying to ignore the cold feeling spreading through my chest. He better survive. I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I made coffee and started researching flights to Singapore. If my brother was having life-saving surgery there, I wanted to be by his side. Little did I know I wouldn't find any flights that matched the hospital address they'd given me. But that realization was still weeks away. 3 weeks after the transfer, I sat in Dad's study, searching through his filing cabinet for my old W-2 forms. Tax season was here, and I needed to file early. My depleted savings meant I couldn't afford to wait for a refund. Mum was in the kitchen, humming while she cooked Sunday dinner. The house smelled like pot roast, a scent that usually brought comfort, but now just made my stomach turn. Any updates from Ian? I called out, rifling through folders. Oh, he's doing much better, Mum's voice carried down the hallway. The doctors are very pleased with his progress. I pulled out my phone and checked the latest photo Ian had sent, him giving a thumbs up from what was supposedly his hospital bed. Something about it bothered me, but I couldn't put my finger on what. The bottom drawer of the filing cabinet stuck slightly. As I yanked it open, a manila envelope slipped from between two folders and fell to the floor. It wasn't sealed properly, and several papers spilled out. I reached down to gather them, then froze. The top document was an invoice from a luxury car dealership. Brand new, BMW M4, metallic black, purchased 5 days after my transfer. The buyer's name made my blood run cold. Ian. My hands trembled as I checked the price, $82,000. Need any help finding those forms? Mum called. No. I managed to keep my voice steady. I'm good. I quickly snapped photos of every page with my phone, then carefully returned them to the envelope. My heart was pounding so hard I could barely breathe. Back at my apartment that night, I pulled up Ian's hospital photo again. This time, I zoomed in on his sunglasses. The reflection showed palm trees and what looked suspiciously like a resort swimming pool. My phone buzzed with a text from Mum. "Ian's feeling stronger today. Doctor says he might come home earlier than expected. You're such a good sister." I didn't respond. Instead, I opened my laptop and started searching. The hospital name they had given me, nothing came up. The specialist credentials, dead ends. The phone number, disconnected. At 2 a.m, I found myself on Ian's Instagram, scrolling through archived posts. 3 weeks ago, he'd been too weak to use social media, but someone had liked a bunch of posts from a resort in Bali, same resort that appeared in his hospital photos. My phone rang, making me jump. It was Ian. "Hey sis," he sounded cheerful. Too cheerful for someone recovering from major heart surgery. "Just wanted to check in. You've been quiet lately." "How's the hospital food?" I asked casually. "Oh, you know, hospital food," he laughed nervously. "Pretty bland." "That's weird," I said, keeping my voice light, "because the resort you're at gets 5 stars for their cuisine on TripAdvisor." Silence. "Prue, I can explain." I hung up. Within seconds, my phone exploded with messages from Mom. Ian just called crying. "You're jumping to conclusions. We can explain everything. Please call us. Don't do anything rash." I turned my phone off and went to my closet. Behind my winter coats was a box of childhood memorabilia. Inside, I found my old bank book from when I was 16. I'd saved every birthday check, every babysitting dollar. The final balance showed 8,940 talen. I logged into my bank's website and checked the historical records. 1 week after I'd turned 18, that account had been emptied. The reason listed: transfer authorised by Guardian. My laptop pinged with an email from Dad. "Prudence, let's discuss this like adults. Your mother is beside herself. Come over tomorrow and we'll explain everything. Family handles things privately. Dad." I opened Ian's hospital photo one more time. The timestamp caught my eye. It had been taken at 3:15 p.m. Bali time. I checked my bank records again. The $87,000 transfer had gone through at exactly 3:12 p.m. Bali time. 3 minutes. He'd waited 3 minutes after getting my money to take a poolside photo. My phone was still buzzing with messages when I turned it back on. But I ignored the family texts and opened a different contact instead. Aunt Alexandra, Mum's estranged sister who'd been labelled the troublemaker years ago for accusing my parents of financial misconduct. "Hi, Aunt Alex," I typed, hands shaking. "I think I finally understand why you cut ties with the family. Can we meet?" Her response came immediately. "I've been waiting for this call for years. Coffee tomorrow?" I looked at the growing stack of evidence on my desk. The car invoice, the bank records, the photos. This wasn't just about my savings anymore. This was about years of lies. And I was done being the quiet, reliable daughter they could count on to bail them out. Aunt Alexandra was already waiting when I arrived at the coffee shop, her silver hair pulled back in a neat bun. She stood to hug me, and I caught a whiff of familiar lavender perfume, the same scent from childhood memories I'd almost forgotten. "You look exactly like your mother at your age," she said, then quickly added, "but I suspect you're made of stronger stuff." I pulled out my folder of evidence and spread it across the table. "Tell me everything," she sighed, stirring her coffee. "It started with your grandparents' retirement fund. Your father convinced them to invest in a can't-miss opportunity. Nearly $200,000. Gone. Did they report it? Your mother talked them out of it. Family loyalty above all else, right?" Her voice turned bitter. "When I threatened to go to the police, they turned the entire family against me, said I was jealous, unstable, trying to tear the family apart." I pulled up my banking app. "Look at this. My childhood savings, my graduation money, even my first car fund, all gone." Alexandra nodded grimly. "They've been practicing this playbook for decades. The fake medical emergencies are their specialty. 3 years ago, they pulled the same stunt with your cousin Rachel." "Rachel?" I remembered her. She'd stopped coming to family gatherings years ago. "How much?" $40,000. Same story. Ian needed emergency surgery. That time it was supposedly in Thailand. My hands shook as I opened my laptop. "Help me look through something." Together, We dug through social media posts, public records, and financial documents. A pattern emerged, clear as day, once you knew where to look. Every major family crisis coincided with a luxury purchase. Every emergency fund transfer was followed by vacations. Ian's social media was filled with photos at expensive resorts, always posted shortly after someone in the family had helped with his medical bills. Here, Alexandra pointed to a photo from 3 years ago. This is the same resort he's at now. They don't even bother changing their hiding spots. My phone buzzed. Another text from Mum. Please come home. We're worried about you. Let's talk about this as a family. They're scared, Alexandra said, reading my expression. They know you have proof. I opened my email and found a message from Dad, sent at 3 a.m. Prudence, your mother hasn't slept. This situation is getting out of hand. Whatever you think you've discovered, remember that family matters should stay private. We can work this out. Come home. We'll make it right. Dad. Make it right? I laughed hollowly. They stole my entire future. Alexandra reached across the table and grabbed my hand. No, they didn't. Your future is still yours, but only if you stop them now. I pulled up a spreadsheet I'd made the night before. I've documented everything. The fake hospital, the car purchase, the resort bookings. Even found the friend who posed as a doctor during that late night call. He's an actor Ian knows from college. What are you going to do? I took a deep breath. I need a lawyer. And then I'm going to the police. They'll try to stop you, Alexandra warned. They'll use every emotional weapon they have. As if on cue, my phone lit up with a photo from Ian, him looking sad in what was clearly his resort room, but with the curtains drawn to make it look more hospital-like. The caption read, "Miss you, sis. Why are you doing this to me?" I turned my phone off. I have a friend, Alexandra said, pulling out her business card holder. She's a lawyer who specialises in family financial fraud. She helped me years ago when I tried to protect your grandparents. She wrote a name and number on the back of a card. Adeline Fisher, attorney at law. There's something else you should know, Alexandra added quietly. Your college fund, the one they said was wiped out in a market crash, they used it to pay for Ian's first year at that private university. When he dropped out, they kept the refund. The pieces clicked into place. Why I'd had to work full-time through community college. Why they'd discouraged me from applying to expensive schools. Why they'd insisted I was more practical than Ian. I found a photo yesterday, I said, pulling it up on my laptop. From Ian's Instagram 3 years ago. He's at the same resort, same pool, same suite. They've been running this scam over and over. Alexandra squeezed my hand. You're not alone this time. I'll help you end this. I gathered my evidence back into the folder, adding Alexandra's card. My phone had 37 missed calls and messages when I turned it back on. They're going to say I'm betraying the family, I said. Alexandra stood up, straightening her jacket. No, honey, they betrayed you. And it's time they learned that the quiet daughter they've been stealing from isn't so quiet anymore. I nodded, clutching my folder. I'm calling the lawyer today. Good, she said. Because something tells me Ian's miracle recovery is about to make headlines. The bank's fraud investigation department was housed in a sleek downtown building. I sat across from Jason Mills, watching him review my documents with increasing concern. This is, he paused, adjusting his tie, remarkably thorough. Most people don't document family fraud this extensively. I'm not most people, I replied, sliding another folder across his desk. And there's more. Someone's still trying to access my accounts. Jason clicked through his computer. Yes, I see multiple attempted withdrawals in the past week. All declined, thankfully. But they had your security questions right. Of course they did. They're my parents. He leaned forward. Ms. Prudence, I need to be clear. Family financial fraud is complicated. The courts often hesitate when it's parents involved. Are you sure you want to pursue this? I pulled up Ian's latest Instagram story on my phone. Him parasailing in Bali, posted just an hour ago. Pretty sure. All right. Jason started typing. I'm flagging all your accounts for enhanced security. We'll need statements from the last 7 years. Any communications about money and... My phone buzzed. Mum again. The neighbours saw you going into the bank. What are you doing? Please don't destroy this family. I turned the phone off. They're getting nervous, I said. Yesterday, Dad tried to access my investment account. This morning, Mum left a voicemail about adding me to their will, trying to make me feel guilty. Jason nodded grimly. Classic manipulation tactics. We see this a lot. The perpetrators often... A knock interrupted him. His secretary poked her head in. Sorry, but there's a Mr. and Mrs. Harvey insisting on seeing their daughter. They're in the lobby. My heart stopped. They followed me here? Jason pressed his intercom. Call security. Tell them we have unauthorised persons attempting to interfere with a fraud investigation. I peeked through the office blinds. Mum was crying dramatically in the lobby while Daud argued with the receptionist. Classic divide and conquer tactics. Mom playing victim while Dad intimidated. Back entrance? I asked. Jason nodded, gathering my files. Through here. I'll have an officer escort you to your car. As we slipped out the back, my phone vibrated with texts from Ian. They're crying because of you. How could you do this to them? We're your family. You're going to regret this. The security officer walked me to my car. As we turned the corner, I heard Mom's voice. Prudence, please, we can explain everything. I didn't look back. That evening, I met with Adeline, Alexandra's lawyer friend, in her office. She reviewed my evidence with a professional detachment until she reached the childhood account documents. This goes back further than you thought, she said, pulling out more papers. Your parents opened credit cards in your name when you were 16. They've been building this web for years. How did you find that? I ran a full credit check. There's a history of accounts opened and closed, loans taken out and paid off, all using your social security number. My hands shook as I looked at the documents. That's identity theft. Yes. Adeline's voice was firm. And it's prosecutable. My phone lit up with an email from Dad. Your mother is in bed, sick with worry. If you continue this vindictive crusade, remember that you're not just hurting us, you're destroying our family's reputation. Every job application, every background check, every future relationship will show that you turned on your own parents. Is that what you want? Think carefully about your next move. Dad. Adeline read the email over my shoulder. They're escalating. We need to move faster. What's next? She opened her laptop. We file police reports tonight. Tomorrow we meet with the DA's office. I've already contacted the fraud division. They'll say I gave them the money willingly. Under false pretenses, using a documented pattern of deception, she started typing. Trust me, they won't expect their quiet daughter to have this much evidence. My phone buzzed again. A video call from Ian. I almost declined it, but something made me answer. Having fun in Bali? I asked before he could speak. His face fell. Prue, listen. No, you listen. That money was my future, my dreams, everything I worked for since I was 16, and you took it for a vacation and a BMW. We're family. Not anymore. I hung up and turned to Adeline. I want to press charges, all of them. She nodded, pulling out more forms. They'll probably try to contact you at work next. We should talk to your employer's security. Already done. I managed a small smile. I learned to be thorough from watching them cover their tracks all these years. Good. Adeline started filling out police report forms. Because something tells me they're about to learn exactly how much evidence their reliable daughter has been collecting. I looked at my phone one last time before turning it off. 3 missed calls from Mum, 2 from Dad, and a text from Ian. You'll regret choosing money over family. No, I whispered, watching Adeline prepare the criminal complaints. I regret not doing this sooner. The police station smelled like coffee and printer paper. Detective Rivera sat across from me, reviewing my statement for the 3rd time. Let me get this straight, she said, tapping her pen against the desk. They orchestrated a fake medical emergency, complete with an actor playing a doctor, to get your savings. I pushed the folder of evidence across her desk. Plus identity theft going back to when I was 16, credit cards, loans, accounts, all in my name without my knowledge. She flipped through the documents, eyebrows rising. This is unusually well documented. I learned from watching them cover their tracks. My phone buzzed. Another text from Mum. There are 2 police cars outside our house. Is this what you want? To see your parents in handcuffs? Detective Rivera noticed my expression. They're still contacting you? Constantly. Dad showed up at my workplace yesterday. Security had to escort him out. She made a note. We'll add harassment to the charges. Now, about the BMW purchase. A commotion in the hallway interrupted us. I recognised Mum's voice immediately. "That's my daughter in there! I have a right to see my daughter!" Detective Rivera pressed a button on her desk. "Officer, please remove Mrs. Harvey from the premises and remind her that attempting to interfere with a witness giving a statement is a criminal offence." I heard Mom's theatrical sobs fade away as they escorted her out. "You okay?" Detective Rivera asked. "Better than okay," I replied, pulling out my laptop. "I have something else to show you." I opened a folder labelled Family Finance Records and turned the screen toward her. Every transaction, every transfer, every fake emergency for the past 7 years, including what they did to my cousin Rachel. Her eyes widened as she scrolled through the spreadsheets. "This is extensive. I'm not their first victim," I said, "just the first one to fight back." Back at my apartment, I packed quickly and efficiently. 1 suitcase, 1 laptop bag, essential documents. Adeline had arranged a temporary place for me to stay, somewhere my family couldn't find me. My phone kept lighting up with messages. "Mum, the police are taking your father's computer. How could you do this to us?" "Ian, they're freezing my accounts. I hope you're happy." "Dad, you've destroyed this family. Was revenge worth it?" I turned off my phone and slipped it into my bag. The new burner phone Adeline had given me felt strange in my pocket, but it was necessary. Alexandra arrived to drive me to my new location. "You ready?" "Almost." I sat at my desk and opened my laptop one last time. The document I'd been working on was already open. The dutiful daughter files, a story of family financial fraud. I attached all the evidence, bank statements, photos, text messages, everything, and sent it to the email address Carmen Burton, an investigative journalist Alexandra had connected me with. "It's done," I said, closing my laptop. Alexandra helped me carry my bags to her car. As we pulled away from my apartment, I saw Dad's car turning into the complex. We passed him without him recognising Alexandra's vehicle. "They're panicking," Alexandra said, checking her rearview mirror. "The police seized their computers this morning. Your mother's been calling everyone in the family playing victim." "Let her," I replied. "The evidence speaks for itself." We drove to a small cottage on the outskirts of town, a rental property owned by one of Adeline's clients. No paper trail, no connection to me. "The police will need you to testify," Alexandra said as she helped me unpack. "Are you ready for that?" "I've been ready since I found that car invoice." I pulled out my new phone. "Any word from Jason at the bank?" "He called while you were at the police station. They found evidence of more fraud. Your parents tried to take out a home equity loan using forged documents in your name last week." I sat on the bed, letting that sink in. Even now, they're still trying to steal from me. Alexandra squeezed my shoulder. "But they didn't expect you to fight back. They thought you were the safe one, the reliable one, the one who had always put family first." "I did put family first," I said, opening my laptop to check my email. "I'm putting a stop to them before they can hurt anyone else in the family." A new email popped up from Carmen. "Story runs tomorrow. Are you sure you want to go public with this?" I thought about all the years of manipulation, the stolen dreams, the lies. I thought about Rachel and the other relatives they'd scammed. I thought about Mom's theatrical sobs in the police station and Dad's threatening emails. My reply was short. Yes. It's time everyone knew the truth about the perfect Harvey family. Alexandra read the email over my shoulder. "There's no going back after this." "Good," I said, hitting send, "because I'm done being the daughter they could count on to keep their secrets." Carmen's article hit the local news website at 6 a.m. By noon, it was trending nationally. I watched from my hideout as my family's carefully constructed facade crumbled in real time. Family financial fraud, the dark truth behind the perfect family, spread like wildfire across social media. Carmen had done a masterful job, laying out the evidence in devastating detail. My burner phone rang. It was Jason from the bank. "Your father just tried to withdraw everything from their accounts," he said without preamble. "We stopped it, but he's threatening legal action against the bank." "Let me guess. Mum was crying in the lobby." "Actually, she's been calling our corporate office non-stop. Claims we're destroying her family by cooperating with police." I opened my laptop to check the news comments. People were coming forward with their own stories about my family. "They did the same thing to me in 2019, Ian's emergency surgery in Thailand. I worked at their country club. They always had money for new cars, but couldn't pay their membership fees. Went to high school with Ian. He bragged about scamming his sister. My email inbox was flooding with messages from old acquaintances. Your mom borrowed $5,000 for Ian's medical treatment last year. Your dad convinced my parents to invest in a fake business venture. I saw Ian at a casino the day after his supposed surgery. Alexandra called next. Have you seen the morning news? Not yet. Turn it on. Now. I flipped to the local station. There was Mom, mascara running, clutching Dad's arm as they pushed through reporters outside their house. My daughter is mentally unstable, she sobbed into the microphones. She's always been jealous of her brother. This is a terrible misunderstanding. The camera cut to Ian, trying to hide his face as he rushed to his BMW. A reporter called out, "Is it true you were in Bali, spending your sister's money, while claiming to need emergency surgery?" My new phone buzzed with a text from Carmen. "Police just froze all their assets. Your brother's trying to sell the BMW." I switched to social media. My anonymous blog post, The Dutiful Daughter Files, had gone viral. The comments were overwhelming. This happened to me too. My parents did the same thing. Thank you for speaking up. Detective Rivera called next. We've had 12 more people come forward with similar stories about your family. How far back do your records go? 7 years of detailed documentation, I replied. But Aunt Alexandra has evidence from before that. Good, because your father's trying to claim all the transfers were gifts. We'll need... She was interrupted by another call coming through, a number I recognised. I switched lines. Rachel. My cousin's voice was thick with emotion. I just read the article. I should have spoken up when they did it to me. Maybe if I had. It's not your fault, I said. They were good at making us feel powerless. They're telling everyone you're having a mental breakdown, that you've always been unstable, jealous, desperate for attention. I laughed bitterly. Let them. The evidence speaks for itself. My laptop pinged with a new email from Dad. You've destroyed everything we built. Your mother can't stop crying. The neighbours won't look at us. Ian's job is calling about his employment. Is this what you wanted? To tear apart your family? It's not too late to fix this. Call off the police. Tell them it was a misunderstanding. We can work this out privately, as a family. Don't make us do something we'll all regret. Dad. I forwarded the email to Detective Rivera with one line. Add witness intimidation to the charges. Alexandra texted, "Turn on Channel 7. I did. There was Ian, cornered by reporters outside a luxury car dealership, trying to negotiate a quick sale of his BMW. The caption read, "Brother and family fraud scandal attempting to liquidate assets." My phone lit up with a voicemail from Mom. "How could you do this to us? We're your family." I played it for Carmen, who was working on a follow-up story. Her response was immediate. "This is gold. Mind if I use it?" "Use everything," I replied. No more family secrets. A new email arrived from Rachel's mother, my Aunt Patricia. I should have believed Alexandra years ago. I'm so sorry, Prudence. How can I help? I forwarded her contact information to Detective Rivera. Another piece of the puzzle, another witness to their years of fraud. My laptop showed a news update. Local family under investigation for decades of financial fraud. The photo showed my parents' house with police cars outside. Carmen called again. "You might want to see this. Your brother just posted on Instagram." I pulled up his profile. His latest post showed him at the airport, passport in hand. The caption, "Sometimes you need to start fresh. Goodbye, America." I forwarded the post to Detective Rivera with 2 words. "He's running." Her response was immediate. "Already on it. Border Patrol has been notified." I closed my laptop and looked around the quiet cottage. Somewhere across town, my family's carefully constructed world was imploding. And for the first time in years, I felt free. The courthouse steps were crowded with reporters when I arrived. Alexandra walked beside me, her hand steady on my arm. 3 months had passed since the story broke, and today was the arraignment. "Miss, are you going to testify against your family?" a reporter called out. "How long had they been stealing from you?" shouted another. Adeline appeared, parting the crowd. "No questions. My client will make a statement after the hearing." Inside, I saw them for the first time since everything exploded. Mom, Dad and Ian sat with their lawyer. all in conservative suits, playing the part of the respectable family. Ian had been caught trying to board a flight to Indonesia. Now he was wearing an ankle monitor. Mum's eyes were red-rimmed, perfectly matching her victim narrative. She tried to catch my gaze. "Prudence, sweetie, please." "Mrs. Harvey," the bailiff warned, "no contact with the witness." Detective Rivera met us outside the courtroom. We found more victims. The DA is adding charges of elder financial abuse. Apparently, they've been stealing from your grandmother's nursing home fund. I watched Mom dab her eyes with a monogrammed handkerchief, still playing the grieving mother. "She gave an interview yesterday," Alexandra said. "Claimed you had a history of mental illness and were making everything up for attention." "The bank records say otherwise," Adeline added, opening her briefcase. "Speaking of which, the forensic accountants finished their report. The total amount they've stolen over the years." She handed me a document. I stared at the number. $847,000. "That's just what we can prove," Detective Rivera said. "There's probably more." The judge called the court to order. I sat in the front row, watching as the charges were read. Multiple counts of fraud, identity theft, elder financial abuse, witness intimidation. Dad's lawyer entered their pleas. "Not guilty, Your Honour." Mum turned around, mouthing "please, baby" at me. I stared straight ahead. The prosecutor stood. "Your Honour, we have evidence the defendants are still attempting to access frozen accounts and contact witnesses. We request their bail be revoked." Chaos erupted. Mum began sobbing dramatically. Dad's face turned red as he argued with his lawyer. Ian slumped in his chair, the ankle monitor visible above his dress shoes. "Order!" The judge banged his gavel. "Bail is revoked. Deputies, take the defendants into custody." As they led my family away, Dad looked back at me. "This isn't what family does, Prudence." "You're right," I replied, loud enough for everyone to hear. "Family doesn't steal from family." Outside, Carmen was waiting with more news. "Your blog has gone viral internationally. People are sharing similar stories from all over. You've started a movement." My phone buzzed with a text from Jason. "Bank's fraud department found more accounts. They were stealing from your college fund even before you were 18. Another message popped up from Rachel. "They're taking Mum and Dad away in handcuffs. It's all over the local news." I opened my laptop and pulled up my blog. The latest post had thousands of comments. "You gave me courage to report my parents' fraud. Finally, someone is talking about family financial abuse. Thank you for showing us we're not alone." Alexandra touched my arm. "Ready for your statement to the press?" I nodded, following her to the courthouse steps. Cameras flashed as I approached the microphones. "My name is Prudence," I began, "and I'm here to tell you about what happens when family loyalty becomes a weapon." The story spread like wildfire. By evening, national news networks were covering it. My parents' mugshots appeared on screen as anchors discussed family financial abuse. Back at the safe house, I received an email from Dad's sister, my Aunt Margaret. "I should have spoken up years ago. They did the same thing to me in 2015. I have records. Tell me how I can help." Another victim. Another piece of evidence. My phone rang. It was Detective Rivera. "We found offshore accounts. Your father had been funneling money for years. The FBI is getting involved." I looked at my laptop screen, at the growing movement my story had sparked. The latest blog post title read, "The Dutiful Daughter Files Breaking the Silence on Family Financial Abuse." Alexandra brought dinner and sat with me. "How are you holding up?" "I keep thinking about Mom's performance in court," I said. "The tears, the dramatic pleas, she's still trying to manipulate everyone." "But it's not working anymore," Alexandra replied. "You broke their power when you broke your silence." My new phone buzzed with a message from Carmen. Tomorrow's headline: Family Fraud Ring Exposed. How one daughter's stand revealed decades of deception. I closed my eyes, remembering that late-night call about Ian's emergency surgery. How far away that felt now. "They never thought I'd fight back," I said quietly. Alexandra squeezed my hand. That was their biggest mistake. Outside, reporters were still camped out, waiting for more statements. Inside, I was finally free from the weight of family secrets. And somewhere in the county jail, my parents were learning that their perfect, quiet daughter had found her voice. The verdict came down like thunder in the packed courtroom. Guilty on all counts. Mum collapsed into theatrical sobs. Dad stared straight ahead, jaw clenched. Ian's ankle monitor beeped as he shifted nervously in his seat. The defendants will remain in custody until sentencing, the judge continued. Given the severity and duration of these crimes, this court intends to impose the maximum penalties allowed by law. I sat between Alexandra and Adeline, watching my family's carefully constructed facade finally shatter completely. The prosecution had presented a devastating case. Hundreds of documents, dozens of witnesses, years of systematic fraud exposed. Detective Rivera leaned forward from the row behind me. They found more offshore accounts this morning. The restitution order will be substantial. Outside the courthouse, Carmen waited with updates. Your story has sparked legislative changes. 3 states are now proposing stronger laws against family financial abuse. The Dutiful Daughter files had become more than just my story. It was a movement, a voice for countless silent victims. My inbox was filled with messages. Your courage helped me confront my own family's fraud. I finally reported my parents after reading your blog. You showed me I wasn't crazy or ungrateful for speaking up. Rachel appeared through the crowd, hugging me tight. They're talking plea deals now. Mum and Dad are ready to testify about all the other scams. My phone buzzed. A message from Jason at the bank. Final forensic report complete. Total fraud amount, $1.2 million over 15 years. Recovery process starting. Adeline touched my arm. Ready for the press conference? I nodded. Approaching the microphones? Cameras flashed as I began. Today isn't about revenge. It's about truth. It's about saying that family loyalty shouldn't mean silent suffering. It's about breaking the cycle of abuse that hides behind the word family. A reporter raised her hand. Your mother claims you've destroyed the family. Your response? They destroyed the family when they chose fraud over love. I'm just refusing to be their victim anymore. Back at my apartment, my real apartment, no more hiding, Alexandra helped me sort through letters from supporters. A thick envelope caught my eye, documentation from the FBI about more victims, more schemes, more lies unravelling. They found evidence going back 20 years, Alexandra said. Your parents had been doing this long before you were born. My phone rang, Detective Rivera again. Ian's lawyer is offering a full confession in exchange for a lighter sentence. He wants to meet. I thought about my brother, the golden child who'd spent my savings on cars and vacations. No deals. Let him face the consequences. Carmen called next. Major publisher wants to turn your blog into a book. They're calling it Breaking the Family Fraud Chain. I opened my laptop, scrolling through the latest comments on my blog. You gave me strength to press charges against my own parents. Finally, someone understands what financial abuse does to a family. Your story saved me from giving away my retirement to help my children. A new email arrived from Dad. You've won. We're ruined. I hope you're satisfied. Dad. I forwarded it to Detective Rivera with one line. Add it to the evidence file. Alexandra brought coffee and sat beside me. The restitution hearing is next week. They'll have to pay back everything they stole. It was never about the money, I said, closing my laptop. It was about the lies, the manipulation, the way they used family as a weapon. My phone lit up with a text from Rachel. Mum just confessed to 3 more scams. The prosecutors are adding charges. The family empire was crumbling brick by brick. Every day brought new revelations, new victims, new evidence of decades of fraud. I opened my final blog post. To everyone who's been told to stay quiet for the sake of family. To everyone who's been called ungrateful for questioning financial abuse. To everyone who's been manipulated by tears and guilt, and blood is thicker than water. Your voice matters, your truth matters. And sometimes the strongest family loyalty is saying no more. The responses poured in immediately. You've started a revolution. Finally, someone put into words what we couldn't say. Thank you for showing us the way out, Alexandra read over my shoulder. You did it. You really did it. We did it, I corrected. All of us who refused to stay silent. My phone showed one last notification, a message from the FBI. Evidence secured. Additional charges pending. Thank you for your courage. I closed my eyes, remembering that desperate late-night call about Ian's surgery. How far I'd come from being the quiet, reliable daughter they could always count on to keep their secrets. They were right about one thing, I said to Alexandra. I was the perfect daughter, perfect at exposing their lies. Outside, life went on. Inside, I was finally free, not just from their fraud, but from the weight of being the family secret keeper. I was their favourite victim, not anymore.